Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Agribusiness Development Corporation and the Chair, Jason Watts. Prior to calling the meeting to order, Ingrid Hisatake will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person.
Thank you, Chair. For all of you joining us online, your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone when recognized by the chairperson. Please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you have finished speaking. For those of you joining us by telephone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9. A voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are muted. Once you have finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself for both internet and phone, as well as in-person access. When testifying, you'll be asked to identify yourself and any organization that you represent. Please be reminded that each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid. The meeting is called to order at 10:14 a.m. I will take a roll call of the board members present. When your name is called, please verbally acknowledge your presence and state who, if anyone over the age of 18, is present in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or abstentions. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as the initial roll call. Jesse Cook.
Present.
David Hinazumi.
Present.
Ben Hong is excused.
Sorry for being late.
Earl Yamamoto for Sharon Hurd.
Present,
Alone or not? Earl?
alone,
Alone. Okay. Kara Kahahane, DLR designee.
She might have stepped out, Chair.
Oh. Dean Okimoto.
Present and everybody's involved.
Jason Yokohama.
Present.
Karen Seddon.
Present alone.
Nathan Trump.
Present and alone.
Jason Watts, present. Thank everybody. Dane Wicker, DBED designee.
I don't see him online, Chair.
All right, we have a quorum. Members are reminded to have their cameras turned on and remain on screen during the meeting, especially during voting, so the record will clearly reflect who was present at the time the vote was taken. Approval of minutes. Items B1 and B2 will be deferred, as the board already approved both for June 26th, regular meeting and the executive meeting. For items B3, July 18, 2025, regular meeting notice. Regular meeting minutes.
Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation to the meeting minutes before the board approves the July 18th. There's just 2 recommended changes I have on page 11, where for the vote on action item E3, question number 1. There is a vote of 10 ayes and 1 no. I would recommend putting, because it is not unanimous, putting the roll call vote before the vote 10 ayes, 1 no. I don't have that, but I would assume that the ADC office could provide the roll call vote onto the minutes for us at the instruction of the board. So I would recommend that one change. And then on page 12, there is a vote 7 ayes, 4 noes for, I think, question 1A. And I would recommend again that get the roll call vote before it. And if the board could please adopt that, approve the minutes subject to that change.
Thank you. The Deputy Attorney General's, Attorney General's Office, the recommendations we will adopt. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the amendments?
So move. Second.
Thank you, member Okimoto and member Cook. Is there any staff presentation?
None at this time, Chair.
Anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
Any board discussion? Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the July 18, 2025 regular meeting minutes unanimously. Board member Kahane has joined us. And
Yes. Present, and no one is here with me in the room.
Thank you, Deputy. And we will be deferring action on the August 25th board meeting minutes. Chairperson's report, is none. Committee and permitted interaction group reports, there are none. We will be moving to, if there's no objections, action items. Action item 1, request for the board of directors to make a determination that it is necessary to conduct a limited meeting to be held following the October board meeting for on-site inspections of certain properties and facilities on the island of Maui for purposes related to the board's business at which public attendance is not practicable, and authorize the executive director to seek concurrence for the limited meeting from the director of the Office of Information Practices. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Board Member Inazumi, seconded by Board Member Yokohama, Vice Chair Yokohama. Staff presentation, Allison,
No, it's gonna be Mark.
Mark?
Gotta think about what we're doing.
Not clicking your screen.
Yeah.
Hi. Aloha, Chair. I'd just like to mention that member Wicker has joined the meeting,
Oh, thank you.
and
Member Wicker is here.
are you
Are you
alone?
alone?
Yes, alone.
Thank you.
10:20 a.m.
Yeah, thanks.
Uh,
Thank you, Chair, board members. What this request is for the board to make a determination that it is necessary to conduct a limited meeting at the October board meeting on Maui. And what the intention is that, if the board approves, we will schedule, with certain groups, to perhaps tour their facilities or their farms. The reason that it's a limited board meeting, is because typically in these meetings, it's private property. Sometimes the footing is not good, and and the traveling between the sites, it makes it unsafe or not good for the public to be attending. If there are any questions, I can answer.
Is there any from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There's none, Chair.
Is there any board discussion? If not, are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Moving on to action item 2. Request for approval to issue a new license agreement to Hawaii Sustainable Agricultural Products LLC for fields PU-12 and PU-13 in Pa'ala, Uka, District of Waialua, City County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii. Tax map key numbers 16-4-004-006-008. The board took action at the July 26, 2025 board meeting on the terms and length of the license. The board will only be voting on the approval of the license at this time.
Just skip down to
Yes.
Paul and Ken for staff presentation.
Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, good morning, Chair, morning, board members, morning, members of the public, Ken Nakamoto, ADC Project Manager. You guys should have all received the communications or testimony from Dr. Azari. As it's apparent why he was chosen, and as Chair pointed out, we are just here to approve the license. We have faith that Dr. Azari can, basically, guess, effectuate his plan. I just want to point out that, we are approving, we're putting this forward to you folks, but with the caveat that if we were to have other farmers, it would be at $1,800, right? And so the board had approved his rate at 200. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. I believe Dr. Azari is on the call in case he has any further comments.
Thank you, Ken. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Deputy Director Whitmer. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded by Board Member Cook. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There is, Chair, one moment. Aloha, Mr. Azari, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for allowing me the time to clarify some stuff. In my reply, Chairman, I mentioned that I don't believe the terms that you have listed in your letter were approved because you stated that we should postpone the decision on the terms to the future meetings. So that's one side point. And in my letter, if the members had the chance to review it, I explained that, and I want to emphasize that we are happy to actually in order for putting our best foot forward and get this resolved, agree to what has been proposed in terms of the $200 for rent, and then as far as the acreage goes, also, even though we believe it's clear that it's 123 acres tillable, but we will accept 162 acres that the board has proposed. And we also would like to add that we won't be asking for any rent credits in the future. So that should be a moot point right now. And then the only issue that we will have is that we would not think it's prudent for anyone to agree to have the license to be contingent upon clearing such a large parcel and planting the whole thing within 2.5 years. Any minor issues that can come up, especially if we need some kind of governmental permission and so on. And as you know,
I do apologize, sir. Your 2 minutes are up.
Okay, well, so I mean, just to conclude, we don't think that adding 2.5 years limit is appropriate. Same thing. Another reason would be because the other two licensees have not been asked to have a conditional for their lease or license. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Azari. I just wanted to have some comments. First of all, thank you for your September 5 email regarding the proposed license. agreement between the ADC and Hawaii Sustainable Agricultural Products. Also appreciate your kind words on meeting when a chair. I just wanted to clarify that the status of the board's actions, at its July 18th, 2025 meeting, the board did vote on each of the key terms associated with your proposed license agreement. So term 2.5 years with the option to extend, contingent upon clearing and placing the land into production within that time. The acreage is 162 tillable acres. The rental rate is $200 per acre per year for the 2.5 year term. Water access at a cost as assessed by Dole with no ADC processing fee during this period. Rent credits may be requested separately, but subject to board approval and conditions. License issuance contingent upon submission of a land utilization plan, proof of required insurance and compliance with ADC's general license requirements. These determinations were formally reflected in the July 18 minutes. And at that meeting, I deferred final action until September 18th to allow additional time for staff and ASAP to address questions raised by the board members. I understand and acknowledge your concerns, certainty of the term length and future rent levels. But as confirmed in the July 18th action, the initial rent of $200 per acre for the 2.5 year proof of performance term will apply. The board adopted a new rental rate of $1,800 per acre on March 3rd. But because ASAP's application and negotiations began in September of 2024, and the board acted on your terms in July of 2025, it's not appropriate to apply the new rate retroactively. So the $1,800 rate applies prospectively to new applicants beginning after March 3, 2025. At the same time, the board must also protect the state's long-term interests, and the extension of a license beyond the 2.5 year term will be contingent upon progress demonstrated during that period, with success to be defined by the board. Extensions may be up to 32.5 years in length, but the final term will depend on the level of production achieved. Rental increases during any extended term will be governed by the board's Land Management Policy and Procedures Manual, 2.5% every 5 years, consistent with other existing licenses. The board has received the conservation plan and supporting materials, and it's been made available to all board members, and we appreciate, your continued engagement and commitment. And for the agency staff, upon approval by the board, ADC will send the draft license agreement to Dr. Azari within 2 weeks, and ADC will expect Dr. Azari's acceptance or rejection of the license agreement within 1 week, which is October 9th. May I have, are there anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
There is none, Chair.
Is there any board discussion?
Chair Watts, I would have to recuse myself from voting on this item.
The vice chair is recusing himself.
Chair, we have a hand up from,
Later. Sorry, board member Okimoto.
Dr. Azari, it might be hard to get 162 acres up there running in a 2.5 year period, which is fine, but we would like to see some kind of, to me, percentage of the land in production after 2.5 year period, because after all, we are releasing this land to you for agricultural production. So I don't know whether board is going to determine that, or whether staff can help us, or even you. I mean, if there's a number of acres that you think can be done in that 2.5 year period, that I think we need to know. So and also, there's still in all of this that the plan that you've given us, we still don't even know what you're growing. So
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I'm not sure, which member was stating these comments. But respectfully, we have submitted a substantial proposal that spells out in details, what would be planting, and I hope that was provided to the members prior to the meeting. And because I thought maybe that wasn't the case, I did also attach that to the email that I sent the chair. So yes, we do know what we are planting, and I appreciate that you are stating the reality of life in Hawaii, that things may not move in a way that you want it to be moved, and having a deadline which wasn't imposed to other two licensees is not reasonable to expect us within 2.5 years to clear all that land. And first of all, I mean, if we clear the entire land, by the time we plant the land, some of the parts of the land has been always still, back to being covered by the vegetation. So it needs to be done in portions. So I mean, we cannot really. I mean, I can tell you right now that we cannot accept such a contingency because if one thing goes wrong and we have spent $2 million, which I stated in my letter, that is a reasonable amount to expect that and then the board, for one reason or another, decided, okay, no, I mean, you didn't do what we expected, we cannot extend the license, then we cannot, proceed. And we have put a lot of effort and time and funds into this project, and it did not go forward. I mean, we can do that if the board agrees to reimburse us for any funds that we put in the project if you decide not to extend the license. But other than that, I think it's not fair to us to expect us to have such contingency while the other two licensees were not, subject to that. And also, in general, I don't think it would be a right expectation.
No, thank you.
Chair, if I may add, yeah. So in his proposal, which you folks have all received, as well as his presentation that he gave, he stated that he could do 20% of the property per year. So I don't think the expectation of ADC is to have him clear the entire 162 acres of usable, but at least follow the proposal. And we hold all of the farmers, not just him, to that standard of the land utilization plan, as however they state where it would be prepared, how much of it will be prepared. So we're not treating anything differently than the others.
Thank you.
Just wanted to point that out.
Board Member Ricker?
Thank you, Chair. So, based off of Mr. Nakamoto's response, so 162 acres, and he has in his proposal 20%, so that's about 32 acres annually. So in 2.5 years, we revisit and see if, how about, what is that, 30, 60, about 75 acres, just a little under 50% is productive. And based on that, then the board can then decide whether to go and extend the license or terminate.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to add that, obviously, I mean, I mentioned in the last, I mean, what we've been.
Doctor, sorry, I'm sorry, the board had actually voted on the terms at the July 18th meeting. To this discussion is really to approve the license or not to approve the license.
Yeah, I'm just asking for clarification so I understand, because we're limited to available lands on Oahu. So we really need to know, okay, if this 162 acres will be put into production, or reasonably what Dr. Azari can do and then release the lands, the remaining lands for other potential licensees. But I'll
Correct.
definitely benefit of the doubt. I just wanted to confirm that what I'm understanding is that in 2.5 years, we review, and about 75 acres needs to be in production. And if not, then I guess the board can then make a decision how to move forward.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Board Member Wicker. We were in the middle of a vote. Vice Chair Yokohama has recused himself. We will do a roll call vote. Board Member Cook.
Or voting on the recommendations?
Yes. Board Member Hinazumi.
Yes.
Board Member Kong was excused. Early on vote for Sharon Hurd.
yes,
Kara Kahahana Dilamar.
Yes.
Dino Kimoto.
Yes.
Vice Chair Oklahoma is recused himself. Board Member Seven.
Yes.
Board Member Trump.
Yes.
Board Member Watts votes yes. Board Member Wicker.
Yes.
We have 8 ayes. 2 excused. The measure passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Action item number 3, reassignment of members to the standing committees of the Board of Directors pursuant to Article 4, Section 2, bylaws of the Agribusiness Development Corporation. We pursuant to board members' request, we are removing Board Member Okimoto from the Technical Advisory Standing Committee and adding Board Member Okimoto to the Marketing Communications Standing Committee. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Deputy Director Ricker. A second?
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Hinazumi. So anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony? Any board discussion?
There is no public testimony.
Any board discussion? Are there any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is unanimously approved. Item E4 will be deferred to the October 16th AEC board meeting. If there are no objections, we will move to section F, informational items. The following items are for discussion only, so there will be no need for a motion or vote on these matters. Regarding item 1, I am deferring the presentation of Mela Akana with the ADC regarding the Food and Product Innovation Network to the October 16th ADC board meeting. Mela is unavailable today. Item 2, presentation by Dexter Kishida with the Hawaii Department of Transportation regarding food distribution, logistics, and the role of local transportation infrastructure in supporting ag markets. Thanks, Dexter.
Thank you. Sure thing. Thank you, Chair, Board. Dexter Kishida with Department of Transportation, Food Security and Biosecurity Manager. Really appreciate the time again to spend now with a focus on Oahu. The first slide. Actually, we can speed through the first slide, head to the second. First one kind of does a similar setup of why. What we bring in and kind of what DOT does. We can keep moving to the next slide. And again, DOT looks to build a resilient and efficient and secure ag transportation network. With those goals in mind, you'll find the next few slides just kind of laying out broad strokes of the vision and
needs that have been uncovered over the last 9 months of conversations with hundreds of producers, manufacturers, value add folks, and support and the people that support the ag industry. Next slide, please. As we look at Oahu, the system is still quite hub and spoke. Not just the actual shipping, airlines and things like that. It's getting a little more decentralized as the years go on. But a lot of the way that businesses run still use Honolulu or Oahu, not necessarily Honolulu, but Oahu as the hub before it goes out to neighbor islands or to the continent. The other context that I'd like to launch is that because of this hub and spoke model that seems to happen, or is the current setup, that export also ends up coming many times to Oahu as a stop before heading elsewhere. And so aggregation, while there's been, and there are many folks that manufacture and aggregate on the neighbor islands, there tends to be this natural hub that Oahu provides before it goes out further again. And so in some of the next parts of the conversation, would love to just point out maybe some places, and not to tell ADC what to do, but to suggest some points of partnership that we can look at between DOT as we support and create a more secure and effective transportation system, and ADC with the really wondrous powers that ADC actually holds as the agribusiness development corp. Some of the challenges that are specific and maybe not so specific to Oahu is the reliance on Honolulu Harbor and DKI. And just that means just a lot of traffic, not just harbor traffic or plane traffic, but also land traffic. There were times and recently we implemented kind of a new plan so we could actually get into Oiki Street. There are many times before that the trucks you see lined up here in the mornings, trying to get to YB and deliver on time. So one of the things we really need is things to move off of port quickly, which doesn't necessarily align with the next point on biosecurity, that while we want to do this, we want to do this securely. So creating and working with DAB, the Department of Ag and Biosecurity, to ensure we still can get inspections and the necessary biosecurity needs met while moving things quickly. Because when things don't, you don't have toilet paper on the shelves, you don't have food at the grocery stores. We have a very, very just-in-time economy. The other issue is the limited agricultural consolidation that's currently out there. There are companies that do it, but I find very few that are able to keep cold chain through the whole process. And that partly is due to the current infrastructure setup that we have at our ports. That's one of them calling now. No. Along with that is the processing facilities. Land on Oahu is expensive, so setting up businesses on Oahu is expensive, but processing is also necessary. And ways that we can do that and better streamline both raw products coming here to be processed, but also processed items coming here to be aggregated, is a point that I would love to continue conversing with ADC on how you as an organization, but also you as a landowner with ag tenants and working on value add and further upstream, would love to see how we can streamline some of these processes, as well as fill some of the voids that we have. In the consolidation that's needed is let me take a step back. One of the pieces at port that are highly inefficient but utilized a lot is our less than container load program. And for ag, it's necessary. We don't have the folks that can fill up containers at a time and put it on YB or Matson or Pasha. But if we can move that aggregation off of our ports, it'll speed things up a lot, as well as my theory right now is that we can keep cold chain better. Because when we're dropping off ag products at the port for less than container load, it's undercover now, which is a step up than it was a while ago. But it's still an ambient temperature. And so, this is, I think, maybe a place that ADC and DOT can really synchronize to create this streamless one transportation system for agriculture. Next slide. We'll talk about disaster just a bit as well. So for the short term, we spoke about this on Kauai. This is really going to be system wide. It's just working on scheduling communication on maritime and air carriers. One of the comments I've gotten back from both your tenants and just the broader system as a whole is just, we need to know, we can pivot. We're good at that. Agriculture folks are great at that. But if we don't know that our stuff isn't gonna leave today and I drop it off and it sits for 2 days, that's when my stuff rots and that's when I get upset. So improving that system is gonna be key. Another piece is establishing in the short term a temporary treatment aggregation cold chain facility. And the cold chain facility might just be electrical plugs, so we can actually plug in chilled containers. But the other pieces, as we're looking at export, and I'm gonna wrap this in, and one of the theories of change that I have is that export is an essential piece, and export going out of Hawaii is an essential piece to building food security here. And so we need to do both and do both well. And so even for export, we're gonna need treatment facilities because many places on the continent and foreign require some type of treatment, be it fumigation, cold holding, or others. So that's gonna be really key. But also when things come in, being able to treat it as well. The other piece that we're really wanting to work on is strengthening the current discount program. That's an internal program to Young Brothers, to hit the right leverage points. Right now, it's really raw ag products. Once it goes in a package, it no longer qualifies. But that product that gets aggregated on a neighbor island, processed and ready for distribution to the bigger market here, won't get that discount coming to Oahu when it probably should. It's 100% local ingredients in that product. So that and other ways that we can strengthen this island ag discount. The other piece is how we can pilot shared logistics hubs. As I was saying about moving things off port, finding ways that we can better utilize current infrastructure and the infrastructure that is getting to be built to ensure it's built to the needs that we have. Next slide, please. As we look a little further out, we're looking at permanent location here as well. And the permanent structure, while there needs to be a hub closer to port, really this permanent aggregation site doesn't have to be near the port. It could be, but maybe it's better that it's closer to majority of ag and consolidates there. And there might be some land that ADC is working on currently that could help with that. The other thing is expanding inter-island shipping and air, both air and sea. We know that timing is everything with agriculture, and 2 days a week is just not enough. At the same time, this is where we need to grow together, and the information that you can provide to us to ensure that the system is growing at the same time, or maybe a half a step ahead of where ag is going to be key. And then supporting Oahu-based processing to reduce dependency on imports is the other piece. And this is something that we're going to see on every island, that we just need more processing capacity. Very few of us, okay, maybe I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for everybody. Love it when I can get almost a ready-made meal for dinner. We just don't have time to do the cooking from raw product to finished product on a weekday. So the more processing capacity that we have here will be key. One thing that I'm really excited ADC is working on is a small animal processing facility. That's something that is sorely needed statewide, and maybe a network of them, if I can put that in your ear. Next slide, please. Longer term is this full implementation of this one transportation system, and I'm quite frankly still laying out the pieces on what this could look like. But I do know that the essential partnerships between ADC and DOT is gonna need to be there. You own large swaths of land with a lot and large producers, and we need to make sure the system is built to work for them. The other piece is that disaster resiliency. And that's where the export piece comes in as well, because if there's an abundance that we are producing that we can export, that leaves some great resilience for us in a disaster, but also working with us to help our ports, both sea and air, become more disaster resilient, as well as the aggregation facilities, ensuring that they're built to withstand disasters as well. The other piece is the sustainable shipping, and this is air, this is sea, and this is land. Again, with the lands that you, and the projects actually that you've been working on, the sustainable aviation fuels is gonna be key. It's something that's in our energy security plan. But as we look at further building out energy security for Hawaii, what other places and pieces can ADC provide in this puzzle as we put it together? Shipping is marine or maritime is definitely one of those challenges. And looking at a few ports on the West Coast that are great examples of making huge leaps in more sustainable shipping. But we know, again, we need to grow together, that if we don't have agriculture able to grow the product at a price point that'll make sense for them, then it's gonna be just importing a different type of fuel. Next slide, please. And so how does it support food security? Time to market, I think I hit that a few times already. Lowering costs for our ag producers is one of the goals that we have in both improving the island ag discount program, creating the efficiencies, because time is money. Keeping the food dollars circulating in the economy is the other piece. So why move things to the continent for further processing when we can do it here? And strengthening statewide ability so that number one of on-time and real-time market or to market movement and ensuring that customers have product are two really key things that we're working on now. And the last slide, I think. And so data, because we just can't steer the ship without it. So as your leases get filled, more land gets activated, knowing the production and where it wants to move to even is gonna be key for us. And funding and implementation for cargo food hubs and cold chain facilities. That's something that the facility itself isn't best in my wheelhouse at DOT, but we are the ones to connect it all together. As well as what I find one of your superpowers is looking into public-private partnerships for this. It doesn't have to be the state alone to bear this burden. And I think we could find some very creative partnerships, some very driven companies that are out there to make this work. As well as just really appreciate the time and the invitation to present to foster this interagency collaboration and continue this interagency collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dexter. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to offer testimony?
There is none, Chair.
Any board discussion, questions? Board member, okay?
Sorry, Nick, so, you know, an aggregating thing, if you guys are gonna do it, yeah. One of the keys is, how are you gonna ensure food safety included in all of this? Because besides preserving the cold chain, you gotta look at the food safety, whether these farmers have the food safety.
Absolutely, board member. You actually hit a topic I didn't hit this time is one of the reasons, so because there are facilities that currently aggregate, right? There's aggregators all over. One of the trouble is they want to ensure that their clients who require food safety certification, that anything coming in meets those standards. And so this is where partnerships with North Shore EVP in Group Gap, but also some of the models that NSEVP have been implementing in the facility definitely meeting standard, and then having the capacity to train down to the farmer. And I know a few aggregators are starting to do that now. and working with other organizations, but that connection is gonna be key. And I realize not everybody is gonna look at this market, right, in aggregation. They love doing farmers markets or just direct to consumer. Great, that's wonderful. But as we grow ag, that market is gonna start shrinking and we are gonna need to aggregate and find these bigger markets. And that's where I really believe as ADC and DOT together, we can kind of sandwich them together to help get ag to that place.
Well, okay. Any other board discussion? If not, I just had a couple of extra, yeah, thank you for the discussion on the less than container load. And cold storage. And, you know, I'm glad you guys are engaging in the discussions with Young Brothers on the discount. You know, I think one thing I would ask is that if you guys start having those discussions, if you guys could kind of ask if there would be some opening to expanding the definition. You know, because there's other things that directly cause the prices and stuff to go up, right? And it's the inputs. It's the fertilizers, even ag equipment.
Yep.
I'm not asking for a free for all, but I think, you know, when you're operating on those razor thin margins and all that stuff, you know, either it's here or it's gonna be there, right? So if the state and Young Brothers could figure something out, that'd be kind of neat to do. On the projects, I would just ask, you know, I know there's a bunch of grants coming available, EDA grants and some of that stuff that's have, a lot of times they're shovel ready requirements.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you know, I know we just there's some method to the madness and why certain projects are the way they are, but if you could help us maybe identifying, you know, which ones are shovel ready, because then that could, you know, unfortunately, it's gonna be taken out of order, but we don't wanna waste that funding, so.
Of course.
There's plans already and they're ready to go.
Okay.
We should jump on that, and then to your point about the public-private partnerships, a lot of times those funds require some kind of matching funds.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where some of the private companies might be able to help. You know, you got 2 million or whatever, unlocks 8 million, right? So it's
Correct.
more than worth it. And then the final point I have is the sustainable aviation fuel. If the department has any idea, one, on the viability of that, and secondly, how much actual land it's gonna take to make it viable. Okay.
Of
You
course.
don't have to answer now if you don't have this.
I don't have it on me. I know there's been some work on this, so I can definitely get that to you folks.
I think that's kind of critical. Yeah, the Hawaiian Airlines is
Yes.
kind of prioritizing that. They want to do that. United
Right.
Airlines has already done that. In California. I know, the Sustainable Aviation Coalition has been asking private landowners to consider SAF. But, you know, the size, and the quantity and, you know, putting that on, quality ag land. For
Right.
some people,
Food or fuel.
Food or fuel, and some people can't even afford to go on airplanes, why are you gonna take away the food to do that or whatever,
Yep.
so some kind of rotational process where that SAF product could be used to, you know, help the.
Right.
Farmland, you know. Turn over.
During fallow time
Yeah.
or during cover cropping or whatever.
So just think about,
Absolutely.
if you could help us with that, that'd be.
Sure. Our DOT Youth Transportation Council just visited Maui, I think a month ago, and visited some of the biofuel facilities or a biofuel facility. So I may tap them for actually more up-to-date information.
Cool. Anything else? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Here, next item is a presentation of Daniel Nellis of Dole Food Company regarding Waiho irrigation system. Oh, he's sick, so we'll be deferring this. Item number 4, presentation by Mike Lambert, Director of the Hawaii Department of Law Enforcement regarding operations of Whitmore Village. We'll be deferring that matter too. He's unavailable today.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deb Nellis seems to be online. There's your at. Here. Sorry, Chair, number 3, F3, it appears that Mr. Nellis is online.
Okay, go back to F3, presentation by Daniel Nellis of Dole Food Company regarding the Waiho irrigation system.
Yeah, just a minute. Just 1 second, I mean.
Just 1 second.
Okay, hello,
Sir, we can hear you.
okay. I can share a screen of a presentation that I shared with the North Shore Neighborhood Board regarding a Wahiwa irrigation system. Or if you guys are well informed about Wahiwa irrigation system, I can just answer questions you might have. So whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, but read the presentation.
We would like the presentation, Dan.
Okay, so let me okay. I've got the screen up on my computer and now I've got to go back to you guys and try to share. And I guess where is the command for sharing? To share my screen. I'm not really there it is. Okay, the green arrow. Okay. And let's see if this goes. Can you now see a screen of a PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, very good. So this is just a brief summary that I presented out to the public regarding sale of Wahiwa Reservation irrigation system to the state of Hawaii. And just to be clear, we are selling it for nothing. We are gifting it, but I call it a sale. So, and let's see if I can get to the next page. Okay. So background information, Dole Food Company, a historic company founded in Wahiwa well over 100 years ago, soon to be 125 years, employed thousands of people, majority from the Wahiwa area. Currently, we're a much smaller company and we're employing 200 plus employees in farming operations. The Wahiwa Reservoir, often referred to as Lake Wilson, built in the early 1900s as an irrigation reservoir for Waialua Sugar Plantation, which was a previous Dole Castle Cook company. It's a key landmark of Wahiwa. It is the water source and starting point for the Wahiwa irrigation system that I refer to as WIS. Wahiwa irrigation system is the largest surface water source for North and Central Oahu. Currently services over 9,000 acres of ag zone land. You can see the inset map. Historically, it serviced over 15,000 acres, and that was primarily Waialua Sugar at the time. And a lot of that was Kamehameha School property. Excuse me. Over 50 farms are currently relying on the WIS for water, and 5 billion gallons of ag water is delivered annually. Back in 2007, the Department of Agriculture ADC study indicated that Wahiwa irrigation system farmed lands produced over $85 million in goods and services. And there were 980 direct and indirect jobs. I don't have an updated number on that. Certainly Dole employs less people, but there is a lot more independent farming going on. So I'm confident that there's close to 1,000 or more direct and indirect jobs based on that. Community benefits and agriculture. It's the sole irrigation water source for 9,000 acres of highly productive farmland. It's a key asset for Hawaii food security. There is no backup water sources for the majority of these lands. So without this water, there is going to be less agriculture.
The community benefits for recreation. There is a Waihiwa Freshwater State Recreation Area, which has fishing stocked by the DLNR under a cooperative agreement with Dole. And that's the Aquatics Division of DLNR. And that cooperative agreement began way back when it was territory of Hawaii with Dole. Non-economic value of open space and managed greenery. Obviously, you know, the lake is a beautiful asset, and I know the vision of Senator Dela Cruz is to develop it into a very beautiful, usable park. Other community benefits are infrastructure. The dam and the lake were set up for irrigation, but they provide a flood control service. The facility is protecting North Shore communities. It's also where Waihiwa Wastewater Treatment Plant effluent is discharged. And that's something that we actually tried to stop at one time, but the city and county won the case, and so they continue. But without Lake Wilson, they would have no place for discharge, and it'd become another infrastructure problem for Central Oahu. Some of the potential benefits for the community in the future would be hydroelectric production. Also, it's a possible source for potable domestic water after it's been treated with reverse osmosis and other treatments that are necessary to go from surface water to potable water. There's also the potential for expanded fishing and recreation, as I mentioned, Senator Dela Cruz's vision of a beautiful, usable park, and Waihiwa Town improvements with lakeside park and trails. Okay. The spillway improvement status. This is a little bit dated, this report, but it's Waihiwa irrigation system is now required to handle a possible maximum flood calculation of 45 inches in a 24-hour period. A hypothetical storm standard that is more than 3 times the previous standard. As of February 2020, there was a notice of deficiency from the DLNR regarding the spillway, inadequate capacity to pass the updated flood standard, and spillway design deficiency was not related to maintenance or neglect. So because of that, we have decided to gift this to the state of Hawaii and let the state of Hawaii upgrade that spillway, because the cost of doing that would basically put Dole Hawaii out of business. So that's how this whole process of gifting it to the state came along. System ownership is Dole owns the majority of the system in fee or via easement. The dam itself, co-ownership of portions of the dam and the lake with Sustainable Hawaii. As an update to that, Department of Agriculture, and Earl can correct me if I get this wrong, but Department of Agriculture is already in a contract to purchase the Sustainable Hawaii portion of the dam and the spillway. So current and future work, we were in the process of completing the challenging geotechnical study on the spillway with a report to DLNR. We met all that. We spent approximately 1.1 million in engineering costs. That engineering firm is, as we speak, working on the assessment of the facilities at the dam and the outlet works today. They have been hired by the state of Hawaii. It's the same engineering firm that did this geotechnical study for us. And that's Gannett Fleming. And the guys flew in from different parts of the country. Colorado is where the lead guy comes from. And they're working right now at the dam today with some of the state folks. Obviously, this is when we were talking about what are the options, and Dole's preferred option is to transfer the system to the state. And we want to gift it to the state. We feel the state should own and remediate the WIS for long-term benefits to Hawaii's public and agriculture production. The Senate bill was introduced. We know it didn't pass the first time around. Governor Ige line item vetoed it. It has passed and become Act, I think, 218 and signed by Governor Green. So it's in the process. And so again, this presentation was a little dated. This is when we were trying to drum up support from the neighborhood board for this transfer process. Worst case scenario, which we presented at the time, was decommissioning. So without the Dole being able to transfer this to the state of Hawaii, then it would have to be decommissioned. That we have successfully blocked. We will not be talking about decommissioning any longer, because the Act 218 has passed and the state is moving forward in taking ownership. Anyway, at this time, we were trying to get letters from the community to the governor to show support and spread the word. And these are the different groups that were supporting us and still support us. So thank you. And if you have some questions, I'll be very happy to try to answer what I can. Thank you.
Anyone from the public? Thank you, Daniel. Is anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
Any board discussion?
Well,
Board Member Yokohama.
being ignorant of how this water flow thing work. We take over the system. We control the water. But then the water goes down, right, through and feeds the agricultural land, which still controls some of this water downstream. I think it feeds some of these reservoirs that they operate. So how does that work? Do you burn anything off of that? I mean, I'm just kind of curious how the water just flows down into the system, into the reservoir, and I know that some of the reservoir, if it's being fed by this system, if it's being controlled by Dole, feed small farmers, they get charged quarterly. So I'm just kind of curious about.
So are you asking if there's an opportunity for revenue generation?
No, I just want to understand how that whole water flows. I don't know. Benefits and.
Yeah, I'm not real clear on the question, but I'll try to answer it the best I can. The water source is at Lake Wilson. From there, it flows down. Well, there's a tunnel going through the dam, outlet tunnel. It discharges into a flume. You can see it from Willikina Drive when you're driving over the bridge toward Schofield Barracks on the east side of that Willikina Drive. You can see our flume that is receiving the water from the dam. From there, it goes into a ditch, which travels for a distance until it's into another tunnel. The tunnel travels for, I forget what distance, not quite a mile, but it's where the Wailua egg producers are and the Hawaii Earth along Willikina. That tunnel resurfaces right by Po'omo'o Experiment Station, the University of Hawaii Po'omo'o Experiment Station on Kaukonahua Road. And at that point, it branches out into ditches that go either west and heading out to Waialua and Pioneer property, or east and heading toward Dole's Pineapple property. And then beyond that, it flows all the way to Kamehameha Highway and under the highway, and then down the Helimano Gulch and back up to Helimano Ridge, which is property that is now owned by Pomaikai, several private owners out there. There are a few smaller reservoirs in the system. The first one that you can see from Kaukonahua Road is called Kimo 05. It's a larger one, and that collects water from the system and then distributes it to farms. ADC has land right there under actually the reservoir is on the ADC land. So where the water flows and it goes to smaller reservoirs, if the reservoir is no longer on land that Dole owns, then we have an easement for the reservoir or the ditch. If the ditch line is traveling through some other property owner, we have an easement for it. The only place we haven't established easements is where it flows through Dole property. And of course, we will establish easements when we transfer it. So that ADC takes over the system, they will own by easement the ditches and reservoirs. Some of it is already on property you do own now. So all of the smaller ditches and reservoirs will help distribute it out to farms. So that's the short version, but if you have a more particular area of interest, feel free to ask and I'll answer what I can.
I think ADC gives us a kind of overview how this system works and how it runs down to the farm and area.
Maybe second, map that for us to visualize.
We can do that.
And the distribution system is basically gravity from Wahiawa down, but almost every farm is going to have some kind of pump system to distribute it on the farm. You collect it in a small basin or a small reservoir, and then you pump it into your system. Okay. There are acres of our former pineapple that certainly irrigate without pumps because there's enough gravity head. But in most cases, we use pumps on our property.
Thank you, Daniel. There's another board member discussion. Item 4, we defer the presentation by Mike Lambert, Director of the Hawaii Department of Law Enforcement regarding operations in Whitmore Village. He's unavailable today. Moving to item 5, presentation by Brian Miyamoto with the Hawaii Farm Bureau Federation regarding strengthening Hawaii's base of local farmers and the Agribusiness Development Corporation's role in expanding land and infrastructure holdings and investing in projects such as the Wahiawa Central Kitchen Project and the Food and Product Innovation Network.
I thought everyone was calling in sick today.
No problem. Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the ADC board. Director Gady and your staff, I'm Brian Miyamoto, on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. Thank you for this opportunity to present this morning. My presentation, I misunderstood Chair Watts. My presentation is actually the history of farm emojis. I'm waiting for her to get it up. So I'll start and I'll kind of go through it. I know we got a lot of, I didn't realize there that this many stakeholders here doing this many presentations. So I commend you, Chair, on convening stakeholders that are going to be critical to ADC success and Hawaii's agriculture success. So really, I commend you and your board for bringing together this group. I was very impressed when I saw the agenda, even though several have called in sick. My presentation is strengthening Hawaii's base of local farmers. And keep in mind, when I say farmers, I mean farmers and ranchers and actually aquaculturists, all different types of farmers. I would use farmers to kind of generalize everything. I'm here to emphasize the importance of engaging our farming community of farmers as ADC advances projects such as the Central Oahu Regional Kitchens, Moana Slaughterhouse, egg cracking facility, HPP machine, and FPINs. ADC must ensure that our farmers are engaged, prepared, and ready to utilize these facilities. Throughput is going to be critical for the success, okay, so that these investments can deliver real value and strengthen Hawaii's agricultural future. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna go really quickly, just an overview for those who are not familiar with the Farm Bureau. Formed in 1948 by a group of Windward Wahoo farmers, so we are the largest statewide general ag organization. We're an umbrella ag organization, which means we represent and our members represent food, feed, fiber, fuel, and floriculture. We're comprised of small, medium, and large farmers, and our farmers utilize a variety of crop production methods to include organic, conventional, and biotech. Next slide, please. And you can see basically our members grow everything that we grow here in Hawaii. We're an advocacy trade organization. We advocate on behalf of our members, our farmers and ranchers. They're busy out in their fields, on their ranches, delivering, planting, harvesting, everything that they need to do in order to be successful. So we basically spend a lot of our time at the state legislature and advocating with state departments, such as DAB, gotta get used to that, DLNR, DBED, mention the folks that are on this ADC board. Also at the county level, with our county chapters, we have 11 of them across the state of Hawaii, with the county councils, the mayors, and the county departments, such as the planning departments, and for Maui, the Maui Department of Agriculture, and also at the federal level, at Congress. We've been spending a lot of time up at USDA. We just had a specialty crop hearing at the in Congress, House of Representatives. We're fortunate to have one of our delegation on that committee. So we work really closely with our congressional delegation to advance agriculture here in the state of Hawaii. And we're really been engaged with working with USDA and our federal partners to really push forward agriculture. We also advocate and educate through outreach activities. And you see some of them there, farmers markets. And, you know, member Okimoto was instrumental in starting KCC Farmers Market, our flagship, and we have markets across the state. And really helps to not just educate, but provide direct sales for our farmers. There's some outreach that's involved in our farmers markets. Farm and Food Magazine, another platform that we can educate about agriculture and reach out to not just our members, but the general public. And then the State Farm Fair, Hawaii State Farm Fair, and the county fairs like the Maui Ag Fest, the Kauai Farm Fair. We used to partner on the on Hawaii Island, the Taste of the Range. We're trying to get another ag fair back on the Big Island. And speaking of the farm fair, I want to mahalo the ADC board and commend and mahalo the ADC staff, Director Gady, and your staff for all their help in putting together the farm fair out at Whitmore. First year, we took a 2-year hiatus. There were a lot of mountains to climb. Looked like we're going to cancel it again, but really it was a very successful fair. Reached the numbers that we saw at Kulo Ranch. You know, for the most part, only positive. We know that there are things that we need to improve, but we really want to thank ADC and thank the board for allowing us to host the fair this year at Whitmore Village. I do want to especially thank Ken Nakamoto and Mark Takimoto for their tireless efforts throughout this past year and during the fair, leading up to the fair and during the fair. There are many others that were involved, but really, it's my opinion that without them, without ADC, absolutely we wouldn't have had the fair this year. And it was a very positive fair, so thank you. Next slide, please. Go real quick, advocacy. Please do not pay attention if you are not on here. I'm gonna put everybody on there, but as you can see, we work with many industry partners to move forward agriculture, right? DAB, DBED, CTAR, some of our trade groups at the Cattlemen, we're really close with the nursery industry, crop improvement, aquaculturalists, the papaya, some commodity groups, other statewide entities like Farmers Union, Ag Foundation, Ag Leadership, but also some of the other sector trade groups that really align with farmers and ranchers. I mean, you have right there, Hawaii Food Industry Association, Restaurant Association, Chamber of Commerce, manufacturers, they all have a part of agriculture. And then some of our youth like 4-H and FFA. I don't see ADC on there. Next slide, please. Because for today's discussion, that's our most important partner, ADC. Next slide. Okay, so why is strengthening Hawaii's farmer base? Why does it matter? I saw it on Mr. Kishida's slide. Everybody talks about all these talking points. I'm talking to the choir sitting behind me Choir's online right now. Everybody knows a lot of these things, right? What the challenges are. So I'm not really gonna focus too much on it. I did highlight institutional purchasing. I think that's something that Chair Watts wanted me to focus a little bit more on. So I'm gonna tell you what we gotta do. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. That's what the problem is. This slide's going to help answer the question, what do we need to do or what's going on? This is the 2022 census of ag that just came out. I know it's 2025, it just came out, but it takes that long to compile all information, right? So you see 2022 numbers, 2017 numbers. So on the right-hand side, number of farms, 7328 in 2017, 6569 in the last census of ag. That is a loss of 759 farms. You can see the percentage, 10.4%. So you would assume losing farms, we're losing farmers, right? Farmland doesn't look like it's 7.5% decrease, 1.1, 1.1. The actual number is 82,000 acres. That's where the 7.2%. This is a disturbing trend. It's alarming. How do we achieve our agriculture goals? How do we support ADC's initiatives if we are losing farmers at this rate? It census every 5 years. Now, again, this isn't completely accurate. Not everybody answers, but this is the best data that we have. So the best metric that we can use. And so all these goals that we have, right? Doubling food production, our regional kitchens, our farm to food bank, thank you, Bono. How do we get there when it appears we're having less production? Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are we talking about here? How do we connect ADC's mission to HFBF Farm Bill's mission? Hey, I believe we have a common mission, like everybody in this room, expanding local food production and ag production and strengthening Hawaii's farmer base. This alignment is vital. Together, we can help secure Hawaii's agriculture future. Plain and simple. I was just gonna say, screw my presentation. So we're talking about farmer base. If we don't have farmers, all this stuff that we're doing, Dole, gifting, irrigation, things that you guys are doing on Waihole, right? Irrigation on Kauai, right? All the infrastructure that you're building, right? Our recent Waihole value added, our central kitchens or regional kitchens. It's not just a central Oahu one. Small animal slaughterhouse, everything that we're trying to achieve, well, the farmers. A lot of it's not gonna matter, right? So we need to work together to make sure that we strengthen our farmer base and expand local ag production. And this does align with ADC's role as a development organization for the state of Hawaii. I actually have you guys' goals at the end of my slide and actually your statute, and I think it speaks volumes. Okay, ADC, so ADC, you guys provide the infrastructure, the land and irrigation, and Farm Bureau. Our role in this process will be to help grow and support farmers. Well, what I mean by support farmers, because a lot of times we only talk about new farmers, developing new farmers. Absolutely, 100% we need to do that. But we also need to support our current farmers who have track records of success. We can't ignore them. And I think a lot of what ADC is doing speaks to that. And we need to make sure that we are connecting with the farmers to ensure. And again, others have roles in it. Department of Ag has a strong role, Department of Ag and Biosecurity. But for this presentation, it's you guys that I'm talking to. Okay. Together, we can work to grow Hawaii's farmer base, ensure the state's agriculture future. That's what we're doing. So I just put our missions up there, right? Again, I think we're all familiar with ADC's mission, Farm Bureau's mission. Basically, we're the farmers, we're the ranchers, we're the producers, we're the users of all this stuff. We're the ones that are growing and producing. Right? Next slide. Okay. So farmer growth and expansion. Okay. Farm Bureau plays a central role in supporting existing farmers, as I said, while helping to cultivate the next generation of farmers. Okay. ADC will provide the foundation, again, the land, the water, and more specifically right now, we're really talking about the infrastructure, okay? These are the things that farmers need to succeed, okay? Projects like the Central Oahu Regional Kitchen are critical. They give farmers reliable markets, help them plan their production, and incentivize them to scale up. That's kind of this underlying theme, right? Reduce imports, scale up some more farmers. We got to get some of our small farmers to become medium farmers. So first of all, we need to create new farmers, and we need the land. That's something you guys are actively working on. the land, the water, those things are critically important. And then the small farmers, some of them gotta step up to become medium-sized farmers. Medium farmers need to become big farmers. It's the only way we're gonna get the scale that's necessary to achieve all of these goals that we've set for the state as far as agriculture is concerned. Okay? So in line with farmer growth and expansion, I've got, see on the left-hand side, those are FFA students. Those are the ones, you know, part of the group that we're trying to cultivate. Quite frankly, it's not necessarily just an ag organization anymore. They go by FFA versus Future Farmers of America, but we do have Aggies coming out of there. So we need to support that DOE program. We also have FFA, which is a University of Hawaii program, right? Cultivating kind of the livestock next generation. Here's a regional kitchen. You guys don't need to see this because you've seen it. It's just for others, maybe online, kind of what we're looking at for the regional kitchen, the first one in Oahu. And then that's Waiahole. So that's the irrigation picture. I was trying to figure out, you know, couldn't just be words, but picture. But also you can see Mr. Okimoto there. And then as we talk about goals, you can see me back when I first started Farm Bureau, and that's my goal. That's being the white folks. Half the man that I am now. So that's kind of my goal also. But irrigation, right? That's you guys, Waiahole. I mean, very critical to farmer success. No water, no agriculture, no food. Okay, next slide, please. And I'll kind of rush through these things. Expanding market opportunities. Farmers can only thrive if they have access to strong, reliable markets. So again, HFBF, you know, we advocate for the policies and programs that strengthen these opportunities for farmers and ranchers. What does that mean? Well, we work with our policymakers to make sure that, you know, they can pass laws or provide support that will help our farmers and ranchers, but also sometimes we have to oppose things that can hurt our ability to grow our farmers and ranchers and for our farmers and ranchers to do what they need to do. Okay, ADC complements this by investing in enabling infrastructure. Again, the repeating theme, the infrastructure and your guys' role, right? The regional kitchen, small animal slaughterhouse, egg cracking facilities, HPP, FPINs. Together, these efforts will enable local farmers to meet the growing demand from DOE and other institutional buyers while also helping expand local food production. Again, we need to increase production. We need to scale up. Because if we don't, all we're gonna do to provide the supply for some of these institutional purchasing is just move markets. So we're not increasing ag. So we don't want to do that. We want a farmer who already has their market to scale up and now also be able to provide to the DOE, to the farm to school program, to the farm to food bank, to other institutional purchases. So there's a lot that goes beyond just kind of talking about the infrastructure. We need these policies. We need to support farmers and ranchers so that they can stay in business, so that they can be profitable, so that they can invest and grow their operations, so that we can produce more. So we reverse that trend of losing farms and losing farmland. Okay. Next slide, statewide food sustainability. The next, yeah. Okay, I actually had it at food security, and I think we use that incorrectly. That's kind of the same, but not really. We're talking about more food sustainability. You know, what's the ultimate goal? 100%. Well, we'll try to get there, but can we really get there? Probably not, but we should set some realistic goals, okay? We already have some of the goals, right? What is it? Doubling food production, Farm to School Act 175, Farm to State Act 176. There's percentages that are attached to those goals. Farm to Food Bank, value added increase, and also increasing exports, right? Something that Lieutenant Governor and others are working on to increase exports so we can still grow agriculture, export it as either fresh or value added, and bring those outside dollars into Hawaii, right?
Logo you made for us?
What is that?
A new logo for us?
Yeah, I need that. Farm Strong. Both Farm Bureau and ADC share the goal, reducing import dependence and building a more resilient food system. Again, focus on import replacement. Food resilience isn't just about agriculture, it's about Hawaii's future. A secure food supply underpins community stability and sustainability. ADC's expansion to the other islands, such as like Maui, Hawaii Island, even Molokai, is critical to achieving our agriculture goals. We'd love to see footprints and assets, more assets on the neighbor island, not just Kauai and Oahu. Because this will ensure that local ag production is not just Oahu centric, right? Next slide. this is kind of what we're talking about here, the next generation workforce, again, a thriving ag future for Hawaii depends on cultivating the next generation of farmers. According to the 22 Census of Ag, I'll go back again to the last Census of Ag, the average age of a farmer in Hawaii is 60.7. So let's just round it up to 61, okay? If we're gonna build a next generation and preserve our workforce, we're going to need the farmers, and here's a possible plan, right? the Farm Bureau will work to help develop a farmer pipeline. We're kind of already doing it, working with DOE, working with Department of Labor, working with Department of Ag, working with ADC, right? To provide training, mentorship, and advocacy. Okay, we've got to work on succession plans as much as we are just developing farmers. Sometimes new farmers, they don't have anywhere to go. So maybe we can connect them with farmers that are aging out, that maybe don't have a succession plan within the family. Again, ADC's investment is in the land, the water, infrastructure, to ensure that these new farmers have the tools and support they need to succeed long-term, because farming is a long-term operation. Together, these efforts make farming a respected, viable, and enduring career path. Again, we want people to want to go into farming. Okay? And that's what we're working on. And there's a lot of folks that are involved in that, again, through DOE, through Department of Labor, the ag workforce. We're all trying to work towards this common goal, because we're trying to build up this ag ecosystem. And without the farmers, who's going to be running an ecosystem? Okay. Next slide. I'm almost done, Chair. Sorry. Hey, these are your guys' goals. I got that, I think, from one of your reports. Acquire and develop productive ag lands for ag development. Assure the continued availability of adequate, reasonable price water to lands to accommodate present and future agriculture activities. So again, the land, the water, two of the most important things, right? As we talk about issues for farming. And then goal 3, improve the productivity of ag operations by providing brick and mortar facilities as needed and promote efficient profitability by enticing the development of applied research and innovation on state lands and in state-owned facilities. Again, all the infrastructure that I've been saying over and over and over again. And quite honestly, Chair, in my opinion, I feel like ADC is doing these things, or some of these things, right? Have you fully achieved your goals? Has ADC fully achieved the goals? No, not yet, but I believe you guys are making progress. Okay, and Farm Bureau wants to continue to partner with ADC to achieve your goals, which in turn will help Hawaii reach our agricultural goals. Next slide. If you guys haven't seen it, please look at it. This is the ADC statute. I just highlighted a portion of the statute that I think underscores ADC's expansion. That ADC's expansion is more than a policy priority, it's a responsibility. Okay, so right there, this chapter establishes a public corporation to administer an aggressive and dynamic agribusiness development program, because farming is a business. The purpose of the corporation shall be to support the production of local ag products for local consumption in a manner that is economic and environmentally suitable, while continuing to develop commercial exports for locally produced ag products. So again, import replacement and exports, and I think hidden in there is value added. Okay. So in closing, I hope that by highlighting the shared mission of Farm Bureau and ADC, this presentation demonstrates how both organizations can collaborate to expand Hawaii's farmer base. By aligning the strengths of Farm Bureau and ADC, we can fulfill our responsibility to grow Hawaii's farmer base, thereby strengthening Hawaii's ag foundation and securing a resilient, sustainable agriculture economy for future generations. Again, Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity for Farm Bureau to present to you. I'm not available for questions.
Thank you, Brian, for your leadership. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
Any board discussion?
I have a question. Maybe I know you guys might be envisioning this by now. When is the central kitchen supposed to be finished?
Fall 2027.
How do you envision how local farmers are actually going to see that this? What? I mean, you guys must be discussing all these different avenues or how they can accomplish. Like,
How do they provide the product? So the actual regional kitchen?
Providing, like you say, you hate to take what local producers feed our local people and just shift it to.
Sure,
Right, that doesn't make a whole.
and that's a scaling up, and
Right.
so yes, so Ideally, we'll scale up, we'll have more supply. Again, with, you know, a dedicated market, farmers may be interested and shouldn't hopefully also encourage new farmers. But as far as getting a product, there are multiple ways. Food hubs, some of the larger farmers can deliver, not every farmer can deliver, so food hubs could play a critical role to support the smaller farmers that want to supply the central kitchens, some of the distributors, which the DOE already uses, which again, they work with the farmers. And I think Mr. Okimoto talked about food safety, and you do have distributors like Armstrong now, Cisco. They used to work with farmers that they wanted in their inventory that weren't food safety certified. So there are multiple ways to get it to the regional kitchens. My understanding is there still be maybe some direct sales to some of the schools. Not every school has a kitchen, so that and there'll be some level of scratch cooking, so it's not just gonna be completely heat and serve. But the regional kitchens can allow for scale, right? It can be the receiving, again, that whole Zippy's model that you've discussed over and over again. And so our role right now is to try to get the farmers to scale up, to make sure that we have the farmers in place that can scale up, but also encourage new farmers, because we've got a pretty short runway. We understand that, right? And everything is kind of working all at once, right? At the same time, we're building a small animal slaughterhouse, because it's not just fruits and vegetables, not just produce that's gonna go. We've got Waiua value added. I mean, because schools do use value added products in their school lunches. We've got dairy, right? Hopefully, I just saw something about Medigold now being able to provide local milk here on Oahu. That's pretty exciting, but we want to maybe scale up a little bit more. Dairy is going to be the tough one. The egg cracking, right? And the egg cracking, so having our egg producers be able to supply there, and then having the liquid eggs, which is what DOE uses. They don't purchase whole eggs. So again, all these are kind of working in conjunction. Just we understand that the runways are pretty short, and that's why Farm Bureau is standing by ADC to do what we can to help achieve these goals and meet these benchmarks and hit, basically help to grow the industry. And we think that's what these initiatives are seeking to do, make us more food resilient here in Hawaii. And then, providing local fresh meals, using local produce and proteins for our students, right, at the public schools. And in turn, again, helping the ag economy for our farmers and ranchers.
Board Member Hooker?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, Board Member Okama, that was like a really actually good question. It's a question that provides a loaded response. So, Mr. Miyamoto hit a few points there, but what I will say is that the alignment from what the farmers are growing and how to get it into the regional kitchen onto the menu. So just a few of the key points there. DOE is working with the Culinary Institute Pacific to develop the scratch menus based off of the commodities that we grow here. ADC was given a commodity coordinator position this past session, and we just got approval last week from Gov to move forward with hiring it. We specifically asked for that position to address your question, meaning that we're looking at what DOE imports, aligning it with DOA and CTAR. They're helping with this initiative. Okay, what do we currently grow here that DOE is importing? The challenge is then how do we scale it up so that we're not making it negative impact on the market goods? But I'll also say is that the farmers are already having a challenge with off grades. Almost 40% of what they grow doesn't go to market. So the regional kitchen is one of two new markets that can grab those off grades. As far as the small farmers, some of our tenants, they don't have the capital or the investment into these processing facilities. So we're having conversations, DBIT and ADC is having conversations with entities like North Shore EVP, who are going to identify existing aggregate facilities or co-ops, and then back in that with making sure the farmers are GAP trained certified so that we can leverage already what's out there and getting the off grades, or if they want to sell their market grades to the aggregate facility. And then from there, the aggregate facility will then go to regional kitchen. So there's a huge discussion happening now, and we're finding these drop-off points. In fact, our budget last year included a 500,000 in fiscal year 26, with the remaining funding in fiscal year 27 to purchase a commercial facility on Whitmore Ave in the event we need to do an aggregate facility to fill that void that the private sector doesn't have right now. So there's that a very good question. Ecosystem is happening and things are happening intentionally right now to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Wicker. Yes.
So thank you for your presentation. It was really good. And I was just trying to think about kind of like the numbers you showed. So there was kind of like that season of loss of farmers, which is always bad. But there was also an uptick in kind of like farm size. So I was just trying to figure out where that
Sorry,
came from.
Chair, is somebody testifying from the audience?
Yes.
And we might
Yeah,
want
you
to
wanna
have them
come
sit
up
at the
with,
table because
yeah.
last time the both attendees couldn't hear and well, it wasn't for your meeting, sorry, it was for Board of Agriculture. They said they can't always hear from the audience.
Not a problem. And anyway, let's introduce him. He's our intern.
Hi, I'm the intern,
everybody.
everybody. I'm
Well,
Cahill.
actually, he just landed the job as the contract manager.
Oh,
I'm
And
yes,
his name
ma'am.
is Cahill
And
Liddell.
and it's a pleasure to meet you all. So
welcome.
Chair, Board, so just repeating the question.
Can you go back to the USD last slide?
You're gonna have to give me that, sorry.
Oh, shoot. Go ahead, good.
Yeah, no, so my question just was, there was a season of loss of farmers, and then there was also an uptick in kind of like farm size, so I was just wondering where that came from. But then also between 2017 and 2022, I'm pretty sure COVID was right in between that, so I was just trying to figure out maybe COVID impacted agriculture in some way, shape, or form that may have caused the farmers to go or stop. I don't know.
Yes, so thank you for the question. So a couple of things, yes, COVID obviously had an impact. You know, the unfortunate thing with agriculture, with farmers is you don't really hear when a farmer or rancher goes out of business unless they're a big farmer rancher. So yes, so COVID probably played, again, not every farmer will submit data. Right, so are truly counted on the census, so it's not a exact or perfect metric, but it's the best that we can use, and that's all we can do. As far as the average size, so that kind of speaks on me, and that is an increase, so a positive thing, something that I talk about, small becoming medium, medium becoming large, so that's one of the increases that we did see. I think also on the data, I can provide you the data. And it's readily available online, is I think the farm gate value did actually go up. With a decrease in farms and agricultural land, the farm gate value still went up. So that's a good thing, and it does tend to fluctuate. Right, it's not always a constant up or down. So you know, the next census of ag, what is it, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is gonna be critical. That's kind of aligning with when the regional kitchen is gonna be up and running. And so again, regardless of how accurate the data truly is, and I mean, I think, like, you know, we know that we're losing farmers and ranchers, and we're losing agricultural production, right? We're competing with, so from a land use standpoint, we used to compete with just development on housing, right? And then the next thing is renewable energy, right? Everybody wants ag land. It's flat, it's got some water, it's close to, it's got some basic infrastructure close to, you know, communities or roads. And the newest one that we've been dealing with is landfills. So there's always these competing uses. We're losing farmers, they're aging out, right? Not a lot of people want to get in farming. So again, that's why we're working with ADC, and we're excited to be here and part of the discussion, and hopefully part of the solution to grow agriculture. As we diversify our economy here in the state of Hawaii, right, from less tourism based, one of the industries that we should really look at, and I know I saw that you hear a report, but one of the industries that we should really look at to diversify our economy is agriculture. And the reason why, because agriculture is so damn small right now. So there's true opportunity for us to contribute more into the economy, right? As we diversify the state's economy away from just heavily tourism and military.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Any other questions? Right, thanks.
You know, picture camera too, something's wrong. Broken, I think.
You gotta wait total for that.
And then that's the vice chair's questions. I think the next couple presenters are gonna help answer some of that too, so. Oh, okay. There's a request to take a 5-minute break. Very good. We'll take do that. A recess.
Yeah.
Two.
Swear Dexter also Farm Bureau, I think you're
Yes.
Farm Bureau, Hefner.
Wait, we're not in recess yet.
Up there.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're a little later.
It's all private. Cattleman, sent an official request to,
Guys, we're not in recess yet, please. Sorry.
I bet you how it's cold.
Yeah, I know, I was thinking about that.
Okay.
How you doing?
Oh, that's, no.
It's just, not good with this. That's
Like that. I think there's a way.
to, get in,
Yeah.
increase that kind of stuff. Oh, that's really cool. Big ones.
I need to get this.
It's not gonna be an ad.
It's not gonna be, the one that you said.
This thing.
Really.
I'm just like buzzing in. Just like, give me the crap away.
I just-
Now we move on to.
Sorry.
All right, thank you, members. We'll now move on to informational item number 6, presentation by Melly James with Mana Up regarding scaling local food and product entrepreneurs and how value add facilities can support growth and new market opportunities. Melly?
Aloha, Melly, you've been promoted to panelist.
All right. Aloha, everyone. Thank you, Chair, for having me. I'm Melly James, co-founder of Mana Up. Thank you to all the board of ADC I'm very familiar with many of you as supporters, fellow entrepreneurs, and I know you guys are quite familiar, but I'll move quickly through Mana Up and more into our alignment with ADC, truly as partners and how we continue to move the needle for local companies, product innovation, value add, and agriculture to create more local businesses to fuel our economy and diversify here in the state. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Oh, actually, how do I do that? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm doing
So
this.
there should be a green button with an arrow going up on the bottom of your screen to share. Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, 1 second. Thank you. Let's do it that way. Okay.
I'm sorry, Deputy Director Dane Wicker, can you please turn on your camera? Thank you, sir.
Can you all see my slides here? Or everything?
Not yet, ma'am.
You can't see anything? Great.
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see that?
Nothing yet.
Must be a large presentation. That file that.
What? Well, I might just do it without slides, then, I guess. We'll just keep moving. I'm okay either way. Or if you guys are. I think because I'm on the Zoom that's not in the app. I'm on the web. So it's not allowing me to share slides. So I'm just gonna roll without slides. If you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, great. So Mana Up, we are an economic development initiative that was launched back in 2017, really to prove out the model that Hawaii and our brand is recognized and globally loved. And people from all over the world love our brand. Hence the reason people from all over the world love coming here as tourists. And so as we launched Mana Up, we really thought about what are the criteria that could make sense for Hawaii. And so we work with companies. We host a 6-month accelerator program that is focused on value add companies and other product-based businesses, elevating the brand of Hawaii that are headquartered here, that are looking to scale globally. We've worked quite extensively with the Department of Ag and others, especially with the Wahiawa Value Add Center. Many of these companies, not only have they gotten started through much of this infrastructure, we can have all the greatest ideas in the world, but sometimes we absolutely need the equipment to be able to take companies to the next level. Even as we think about the Wahiawa Value Add Center, much of that came from discussions directly with our companies around what would a piece of equipment look like that could really take the company to the next level. And I'm really excited that the HPP machine is here. So thank you for listening. But part of that is, we can have these great products, but if we don't have the ability to have longer shelf life, we don't have the ability to export and really de-risk a lot of these business opportunities to be able to ship these out and export these to create new dollars into the state. Last year, our companies, we've had 105 companies come through our program. We've seen firsthand, open kimono style, lifting up under the hood, these entrepreneurs, and really seeing the opportunities that are coming towards them. So last year, our companies represented $105 million to the state of Hawaii, as well as 1,100 jobs. They're growing at a 33% growth rate year over year. And it's exciting that 43% of that 105 million came from outside the state. Those are new dollars coming in and creating that multiplier effect, which is really, really exciting. In addition to that, we are a statewide initiative, and many of our companies are sourcing a local ingredient in their product mix. So 74% of our companies are manufacturing here, and 60% are sourcing a local ingredient in the product mix. Many of them are talking about they'd love to be able to source more ingredients as well, and really just seeing the opportunity here for this industry to make a huge dent and continue to diversify and thinking about value add and what we're doing with the thousands of acres of ag land. In addition to that, we've created really robust relationships with sales channels and great partnerships. For example, Hawaiian Airlines has been an incredible partner for us. We've gotten 12 products onboarded onto the airline experience. Kohana Rum being one of them. It's the first class cocktail, as well as Tea Chest Hawaii and many others as we think about purchasing in the state and opportunities that can really move the needle for many of these companies to create these businesses and really think about that. We've also really increased a lot of awareness for local products. We were on Good Morning America last year with 2 of our Maui companies. And so just really pushing the point of like, people love Hawaii. It's recognized. And these products are high quality. And it's also about that narrative that the products coming out of Hawaii are high quality and are winning awards that are best in class. We're not just winning the best in Hawaii, it's the best in the world. And that there is truly that opportunity for that cachet that Hawaii has, the millions of people that want to come here, but also the millions of people that don't have to come here, that can buy that candle online and continue to be reminded of Hawaii and bring in these dollars that don't have to physically come here or can. We've also hosted many Aloha markets and moving the needle on increasing awareness in other markets. So for example, LA, New York, and Haneda. We've hosted now 2 Aloha markets, month-long markets in Haneda Airport in partnership with JATCO. The lines were around the block. They shared with us that ours was the highest grossing and most successful pop-up they've ever had, our first one. And then our second one beat the record for the first one. And so it's really exciting to see not only Japanese aren't coming as much right now because of the yen, but it's not because of their dulling interest in Hawaii. They're absolutely excited. The lines were around the block. And it's exciting to see if, we're able to continue to move not only from an innovation standpoint and these companies coming up with new ideas for flavors, new ideas for innovation, new products. One of our companies just innovated on a new product, a coffee bar, as well as an individual coffee for hotel rooms where it's like almost like a tea bag, but it's coffee. So thinking about the needs of customers and having the ability through equipment and infrastructure is super, super important. Not only just because some of this equipment not one company can afford, but also creating that momentum, those opportunities for collision and more of these companies seeing this smooth pathway that there is success out there and that they can do it. And there are people and resources and infrastructure and government departments that can actually be part of this journey and make this actually happen. And we have about 200 folks that apply for Mana Up every year. We take 10. And it's incredible every year, more and more people are applying. It's just showing the nature of more and more people seeing this as a pathway, seeing this as a smooth pathway and an opportunity to create a life that they want to live and be able to support Hawaii and Hawaii profiting from its own brand and seeing more opportunities from an agriculture standpoint. I think I'll pause there because I know we got a lot going on today, but really I think it's more about like just with you folks, not only just investing in infrastructure, but also creating these opportunities alongside us. And it really takes a village. It's been incredible to see the folks coming in before me, as well as the folks lining up behind me for presentations today. But it's again, really thinking about this economic resilience and why Mana Up, ADC, and many of the other folks in this room are truly part of this this ohana of infrastructure that's absolutely needed to move the needle. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Millie. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
If not, any board discussion, questions? If not, thanks again, Millie. I just wanted to, let the staff, especially, your money staff, know who she is. That's a tremendous resource as the EPMF and FPINs and all those things move. And you're looking to equip these facilities, she'll be a tremendous resource. So to make sure we are equipping it to what the user will actually need and what that scale could those requirements took place.
Absolutely,
Mayor.
yeah. In terms of serving and connecting with the companies, that was really imperative with the Wahiawa Value Add Center. We've had at least 5 of our companies come into Mana Up that started at the Maui Food Innovation Center. So it's really about that continuum, and really being able to speak directly with the companies to what their needs are, and also being able to provide that and like really pair it with more of these opportunities, because as they grow, they get into these next phase of challenges, which is great. It's actually an honor that we are now with companies that are $1 million plus in revenue. The average revenue for our companies is $1 million plus. And so they're going through these challenges to scale and expand and export that were totally different than when they first came into Mana Up and they first started their businesses at 0 to 100,000. So I think it's pairing this infrastructure together is super, super important because their challenges continue to evolve, and we want to be able to step up right next with them so that we can then create more opportunity, revenue, and jobs here in the state. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Melly. Moving on to item number 7, this presentation by Denise Yamaguchi, Hawaii Ag Foundation, regarding connecting the Waihoa Central Kitchen with Farmer School and institution of food programs and the need to develop farmer capacity to supply those markets.
Chair, I'm not sure if she's online.
If not, we can.
Wait, sorry, my bad. Let me get you promoted to the panel. Give me one moment.
Goodness, I've been sitting here waiting for my turn.
Brian talked too much, I think.
No, she almost skipped over me. I was like, no. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Denise.
Good afternoon.
I'm Denise Yamaguchi. I think I submitted something last night, so I don't know if you received it, but I'll just go quickly because I know we're short on time and everybody's probably waiting for lunch. I'm the executive director of the Hawaii Agricultural Foundation. Our mission is to connect farmers to the community and strengthen our local food system and inspire the next generation of farmers. Through agriculture education, the foundation has already reached more than 35,000 students across public and charter schools. These programs don't just teach keiki about where food comes from. They also inspire the next generation of farmers and agricultural leaders, ensuring that the future of Hawaii's food system has people willing and ready to grow. But education alone is not enough. To truly transform our food system, we must also create institutional markets that give farmers reliable demand and a reason to scale up. In support of the Hawaii Department of Education and Kapi'olani Community College Culinary Institute of the Pacific, and Dane mentioned this, the foundation is helping with menu development and cafeteria worker training in the public schools in preparation for the opening of the first regional kitchen in Wahiawa. The facility will produce more than 20,000 meals every day for Hawaii schools in its first phase, with over 60,000 meals every day when it is fully completed. There are 6 regional kitchens planned statewide. They have the potential to become the most important driver of local agriculture in the state. And I've been doing this for a number of years and we've been trying to move the needle. But for me, this is like the way that we're going to really end up having hope to doing it. Because here's the truth. If hotels in our local community were buying local in meaningful volume, we would not be facing this problem, but they aren't, which means the state is the only entity with the scale, leverage, and responsibility to fix our ability to grow agriculture by creating these guaranteed institutional markets. The regional kitchen model is the real hope for Hawaii's agriculture. It can create guaranteed and stable market demand for local food, improve the quality, freshness, and cultural relevance of meals for our keiki, and anchor institutional markets that give farmers confidence to expand. But this vision can only succeed if farmers are ready to supply it. Right now, farmers face 4 key barriers: land access, there's too many farmers on short-term leases priced out of the market; scale, farmers need to plan and plant in volumes that match institutional menus; infrastructure, cold storage, aggregation, and processing are limited; and compliance, farmers must meet food safety and procurement requirements to qualify. Unless we solve these gaps before 2027, the regional kitchen will not fulfill its potential. This is where ADC's leadership is essential. Here's how it can ensure success. land purchase and access, secure farmland and provide affordable long-term leases so farmers can expand with confidence. 2, infrastructure investment, build aggregation hubs, cold storage, and processing facilities near these regional kitchens. 3, capacity building, equip farmers with the training and technical support to meet institutional demand. And 4, market coordination, ensure future style contracts guide planting, reduce farmer risk, and align supply with school menus. If ADC takes action now, by the time the first regional kitchen opens in Waihawa, we can guarantee a steady supply of local food to schools, scale farmer capacity in alignment with institutional demand, support livelihood of farmers, and preserve agricultural lands, and take a major step forward toward Hawaii's goal of 30% local in schools by 2030 and 50% by 2050. The regional kitchen represents the real hope for agriculture in Hawaii. Hawaii Agricultural Foundation is doing its part by inspiring the next generation of farmers and working with the Hawaii Department of Education and KCC CIP on menu development and coordination of training cafeteria workers. But ADC is the lever that will make or break this opportunity. With your support on land, infrastructure, farmer capacity, and market coordination, we can ensure that when the first regional kitchen doors open in 2027, our farmers are ready and our keiki are fed with Hawaii-grown food. Mahalo for your leadership and for your commitment to Hawaii's agricultural future.
Thank you, Denise. Anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
Any board discussion? Member Cook?
This isn't specific to Denise's presentation, but there's been a lot of kind of discussion about how it's ADC's responsibility in a lot of ways. But we really have to think there's a lot of responsibility that the DOE has to follow, right? We can't put it all on the ADC. We can't put it all on the farmers. The DOE needs to step up. And with the regional menus that they've developed, it seems like they're going in the right direction. But let's not just put it all on the farmers. Let's remember that.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? If not, thanks Denise and again to the ADC staff, tremendous resource as this thing evolves. I think Deputy Director Wickers and his staff are working on commodity mapping, et cetera. That's gonna tie into what Denise is working on, menu development, even surveying our own internal lessees and seeing what they're growing, how it aligns with what the DOE wants and needs. Be helpful, but. Board member.
Denise, okay, farmers, they're growing their produce and stuff, and I mean, I've dropped off some stuff to KCC for menu development, some products. And, but I haven't heard back from them. This is only a couple weeks ago, but, how do we get the products to the people who are gonna develop a menu of items for these products? And
So, Dean, I do have an answer for that. So the KCC CIP Menu Development Committee is working with CTAR with the understanding of what can be grown today and what is possible tomorrow. So they're not working in a vacuum, not knowing what could be available. So CTAR is providing that information to the Menu Development Committee. That Menu Development Group has a deadline of October 31st or 30th this year. And the reason for that timeline is because when the regional kitchen opens, what Roy Yamaguchi, who's leading that effort, wants is for that to then determine what equipment is purchased. Because if you go the other way around and you buy the equipment and it doesn't match the menus, it doesn't work. So has a deadline of making sure those menus are done by the 30th so that the right equipment can be purchased. I also agree with, so anyway, that's the answer to your question. On putting it all on the DOE or putting it all on ADC, I don't think this is one agency's responsibility. I just was asked to point out what ADC's role is in this, and I think DOE has their role, and everybody's working together to try to ensure that when we open those regional kitchens, because that's already moving, But I think the key for what I wanted to make sure that came across the ADC is that we have farmers on the land. Because I think you guys are working with CTAR to address what can be grown, and we want to just make sure that the farmers are ready to provide that food to the regional kitchen. There's another agency that's trying to work with how do you get the food from the farm to that regional kitchen, right? So it can be made. But again, there's multiple agencies working on this at the same time. I just wanted to highlight how I think ADC's role, or what ADC's role is in this, making sure that we can get this thing open and there's local food for that kitchen. Anyway, I hope I answered your question.
No, thank you, Denise. I just wanted to offer, we were able to travel last year, I think, to Tacoma with Senator De La Cruz and the DOE, and at the Tacoma Central Facility, when it opened, one of the questions I was asked of the facility was, how much local is in there? And the director said 0. So I think that's a concern, for the DOE too, is that you build this thing and then it's just producing or processing mainland stuff, so. Anyway, yeah, member Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's not really a question I wanna hear a quick answer, but I think it's maybe more for board member Wicker too, I think, on just making sure that if however the system is gonna be that farmers feed the central kitchen, that the state pays on time and make sure they pay, because the state is famous for not paying on contract, for delaying things forever. Farmers cannot wait for payment to come 60, 90, 120 days later. It has to come quick. So I just hope that part of the discussion is being said right now, at least, again, we're a couple years out, but the system gotta be in place when that happens. Otherwise, you get problems with bankrupting your farmers.
Board member Wicker?
Thank you, board member comments. So there are two larger groups having a coordinated effort, and that's First Lady's Feed the Keiki initiative, and then with the legislators Nourishing Hawaii's Future. And when they do call the groups together, you have all these parties at the table, and they're looking at it is chicken and egg, because you're looking at all these little challenges, what we learned from the prior farm to school model, and then looking at best practices in other states, and how they're utilizing central kitchens, not only to address this same challenge of farm to school, but also child nutrition overall.
Thank you, Deputy. And I wanted to offer too, I know Dexter's putting his head down because he knows, when he was in the DOE in the school food service branch, when the farmer school program was a pilot initiative, DOE's being so large, they're going and buy a whole tomato farmer's entire team. And then you gotta wait 6 months to get paid, which that can't happen because now you just bought their entire thing. There's nothing for them to sell. And so the revamping of the financial management system within the DOE is part of what the these folks are working on too. So it's kind of a huge thing within the DOE. It's a major systems change within how they do business. They gotta become more business oriented and pay bills, debt 30 and all those kind of things or whatever it's gonna be. But yeah, it's something that's real. So thank you. If there's no more questions, Lauren's been waiting, Zergle, Hawaii Food Industry Association regarding industry trends and retail perspectives, Wahiawa FPIN is processing as part of a statewide network of innovation centers. Lauren.
Awesome, thank you, Chairman and board members for inviting me to come today. Lauren Zorgel, I'm here on behalf of Hawaii Food Industry Association, which is a retail trade association that represents retail grocers, food suppliers, farmers. Jason is a member, he's actually our vice chairman, so he'll be chair next year. And many other associate members. We also produced the Made in Hawaii Festival. I don't know if you guys were able to participate, so that was massive this year. And we actually have a fantastic partnership with Deputy Director Wicker and DBED. They have their DBED pavilion, and they showcased a lot of the products that we're talking about here today that are, made at Wahiawa, and they are utilizing this new technology. And so it's been really great to meet some of those up and coming entrepreneurs and see how their businesses are growing. So across Hawaii, consumer demand for local food is growing rapidly. Programs like Debucks, which provide a 50% discount on Hawaii-grown fruits and vegetables for SNAP shoppers, clearly demonstrate this trend. Since 2019, sales for local food through Debucks increased from 220,000 to nearly 5 million in 2023. Retailers are seeing the impact directly. Toby Taniguchi, president of KTA Superstores, has said we have seen it transitions across Debucks, like resulting in a quadrupling of the purchase of local food items. So these programs really work, and they're driving a lot of demand, which has increased really dramatically since the state has decided to fund it as well. This kind of demand creates opportunity, but it also requires consistent supply and strong infrastructure support. This is why facilities like Wahiwa, FPINs, and HPP are so important. They allow local farmers, producers to scale up, process, distribute more products so that retailers can commit to sourcing local, and there is enough supply to meet demand. Additional investment in demand side incentives amplifies this effect. Ulu Pono Initiative recently noted that the 1.5 million state appropriation leveraged 8.4 million in USDA funding, and over the next 3 years, Debucks would generate about 25 million in local food sales for Hawaii retailers and farmers. And that number has actually gone up. I'm privileged to be on the board for that program. And we've done really well with philanthropy as well. So that matching is taking place at the checkout, the doubling is happening, and we're looking to exceed that figure. So the demand will be there. We just need the supply, and that's where you guys come in. So the takeaway is simple. When families can afford local, they buy it. And when they buy it, retailers stock more. And when retailers stock more, farmers grow more. And this cycle strengthens Hawaii's food supply chain, reduces our dependence on imports. On behalf of HPI's members, I urge the board to continue advancing infrastructure like Wahiwa, FPINs, and HPP, while also recognizing that pairing supply-side investment with demand-side programs is the most effective way to build a comprehensive, resilient local food system. Mahalo for the opportunity to come present for you guys today, and I'm available for questions.
Thanks, Lauren. Anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
There is none, Chair.
If none, any more discussion? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Moving on to the last, no, not the last. And commitment to schools on agribusiness agency's role in advancing the FPIN, HPP expansion. And how these efforts support.
I thought we were going alphabetical. So I'll write the US.
And welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Executive Director, members. Oh, I guess it's afternoon at this point. Thanks for putting me last. I also have my colleague, Leanne Kami with me, so in Hilo, if you guys could pull her up. Leanne.
Kami?
Yeah. And so much of, as Brian was saying, kind of preaching to the choir in this, but it's always good to be sure to, bring up these issues and have this continued discussion because, things change over time. And I think the more we have this conversation, the more nuanced it gets. And I think we're at that point where we have quite a bit of accomplishments under our belt, either as individual agencies or as a collective. And it's good to kind of recognize that and understand what that next step is. So.
And hold on, before you go further, is there ability for me to share screen?
Yeah.
Yes, there is. Give me 1 second. Let me promote you panelists. 1 moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I'll preface this with Kamehameha Schools. If you guys don't know, we primarily grow the leaders of tomorrow, but we dabble in ag with a couple 100,000 acres of agricultural land in Hawaii. And so, 5 years ago, we undertook the journey to try to increase our institutional purchasing, as you folks know. And I'm glad to say today that over the last 5 years, we've taken ourselves from the low 20s to about 53% local food in our cafeterias. We're certainly not as big as as the DOE, but I thought you guys might be interested in some of our purchasing trends over this, over that time period.
Right.
I didn't bring my glasses, so I can't read this, can't read it at this size, but we'll get there.
And can you make your screen larger on your end, please? Like a full screen on your side, please?
Oh, is that her screen?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And I have my glasses, I think it says Kamehameha Schools will increase to 100%.
Dreaming the impossible dream. Thank you, Brian.
Sorry, I'm not able to zoom in. Are you seeing the full screen version? Or are you seeing a half screen?
Screen.
Okay, let me see here.
That's much better.
Yeah, it's the presenter view.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, here, let me.
Yeah,
Sorry
just switch them
about-
to just the slide view. Let's go full screen.
There, are you able to see that full screen?
There's the guy. Okay.
Okay.
So, I think the point of this is, one, to kind of just elucidate everyone on, where we started and where we are now. And that second column, import reduction trends, it's a good thing that the number goes down. And, in order to make this happen, we had to do a number of different things. And this is kind of going to be my point, for ADC. We're a landowner like yourself. And, in addition to just allocating land, and trying to make decisions around, what exactly would go where, we had to do so much more. And so partners like who are in the room or virtually here today, like, Restaurant Association, looking at our retailers and our restaurants, as tenants, but also sources for feedback on what kind of products are going to be consumed by the market, as well as Mana Up in terms of investing in aggregators or others along the value chain that are actually going to be able to help us provide this supply, as well as the same thing that the DOE is going through now, shifting our menus to understand what was on our land and also what can be produced over this 5-year period. All that to say that it's not just about purchasing more food. It's really about working on the entire value chain. And for example, we have another program called Por Fuera Pepe. And what we do there is we provide bags of poi to kids in preschool to make sure that, when they're of purchasing age, or even now, they can kind of bother their parents a little bit about buying poi. By making sure that, that ono, that demand is going to be there not only now, but for the future. So this is a little bit of our overall food systems impact. So we've made a few investments in local companies, that small little set of logos up there. So aggregators like Big Island Coffee Roasters, for example, Pico Provisions, who buys from a number of different farmers, is kind of where we focus. But all in all, we've invested about $10 million alongside our institutional purchasing program to bolster the value chain in order to be able to create that outlet in our institutional purchasing program, such that we could get it over 50%. So that's kind of the synopsis of the Kamehameha Schools story over the last 5 years. For the next 5 years, I think it's apparent, and people in this room have alluded to it already, that the real opportunity is going to be the institutional purchasing of DOE. And our strategy over the next 5 years is really going to be prepping our tenants to be able to do so. And that's not only from the food safety perspective, from the volume perspective, and this is something I put to the ADC, for your mandate in terms of, one, being a landowner, what that looks like, and then two, being able to drive that research, right, that lowers production costs, understands markets, and that piece is really going to be about, I think, economics for sure. we can talk about what the commodities are, what can be grown in the future, but, you know, as the farmers in the room know, a 3-acre plot is not a 6-acre plot, is not a 12-acre plot, is not a 50-acre plot, right? Each of those business models has a different labor model, different operations, you know, different kinds of portions. And so, you know, when we talk to our farmers and our tenants and we ask them to scale, a lot of times they don't really know what they're getting into. You know, they think, oh, you know, I'm going to 6 acres from 3, I'm just doubling what I'm doing now. And that's just not the case, right? Sometimes it's triple or quadruple. Maybe they don't have employees now, right? So they don't understand, you know, all the rigmarole that kind of comes with having employees and that piece as well. So I think, you know, for us, what's part of what's been successful is working with the tenants and actually doing the business modeling hand in hand with them, having them understand that, okay, this is what your business looks like now. And if you want to get to this point, and some of them, you know, say they do in the beginning and kind of look at the model and are more convinced and some are less convinced. But it's important to go through that exercise with them. And then I think the other piece is really the market piece. Right now, we're talking about institutional purchasing. And, you know, for our smaller providers, a lot of them are playing in the premium markets, right? So we're talking about a farmer's market where they can get a premium for that. And maybe short term, DOE will be able to sustain that. But ultimately, I don't think we should be setting the farmers up to think that the institutional purchasing market is going to be a premium market. It's really going to be a commodity market, right? And we want that, right? We want the kids to be able to access food at the best price possible, right? So, you know, helping them understand the institutional market in the short term, the DOE market in the short term, and then doing that product development and then also that market development in the long term for that, so that they can maintain that premium and have that cash flow in between the institutional purchasing as well. So, you know, we haven't been able to, you know, we can't do everything. So that's kind of where we've been lagging, I think, as Kamehameha Schools is really on that R&D piece and really that market development side. We've invested in others to do so, and they've done a great job, but there's a lot more to be done, especially as we scale. And it's going to be a constant push and pull, right? You know, the supply will go up and then, you know, we got to kind of figure out what to do with it, and the demand will go up and, you know, we'll bolster the supply. So having a kind of nimble business model is going to be the way to go. On the other side, in terms of the, you folks as a landowner, we're a landowner as well. So, you know, what are we talking about? You know, part of what we're talking about is what, you know, to be a landlord of choice, what does that look like? And what are the amenities in, say, like the ag park model that the future farm is going to need, right? So right now, we talked about a little renewable energy, for example, being a competing use, but it's an accessory use for a reason, right? For agriculture. And part of that is because, you know, if we're looking at more the capital intense versus the labor intense type of farming, you know, a lot of those higher tech farming interventions are going to be energy intense. And so if we're looking at, okay, what is the farm we're trying to attract? Yes, we'll always have room for those labor intense smaller guys. But if we want to have this, you know, higher tech industry come in as well, we need to have that basic infrastructure in our ag park models. And that's going to tie back to water infrastructure as well, right? I think we think of water as just like this constant flow, but that's just not what we're seeing anymore, right? I mean, it's huge drought and then huge rain, and we need to build water systems that are resilient in that way as well. So I think, you know, for us as Kamehameha Schools and for you folks, because you can access capital more readily than especially the small farmer, you know, I think we're probably going to lean more into the self-development, joint ventures, and I guess for you guys would be public-private partnerships, really on the capital intense farming side. And then for the labor intense side, really leaning in more on economics to try and help those guys figure out you know, what is the best way to scale and what's gonna work for them, you know?
No, thank you. And, any, public testimony? Not any board discussion,
There's no public testimony, thank you, Chair.
board discussion,
I can't call on you, man, so.
Yeah, Chair. Well, first of all, Ann and Leanne, thank you so much for the presentation you put together. Very detailed and helps us see the exact vision of the crops and products you guys are actually purchasing that have been used. So thank you to you and of course the leaders of Kamehameha Schools for the commitment to, you know, buy local food within your schools. I guess a couple of things. First, the products you're buying, is it from just your farmers on your property, or you guys are buying from farmers throughout?
Yeah, we buy from all over for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and the first one is to establish that basically, you know, Kamehameha Schools could be another, you know, customer, so to speak, of whatever the ADC farmers can produce. And then, you know, second part might be a little more of a, you know, a request for information because you're already doing that. You know, you talk about the protocols you guys have in place as far as ensuring food safety, other things like that. You know, to the extent you're able to share, you know, I know we would love to hear and see what's happening. To make sure that when, you know, when we're doing something or when, you know, DOE is doing something, hopefully, you know, we're all doing the right thing and something that'll work. And then I think just the last thing you mentioned about, you know, making sure that farmers that might be producing and selling to, you know, whatever entity is purchasing, you know, they might not be getting this premium price for their product. Do you guys provide them any other incentives in a different manner, maybe to get them to commit to selling, you know, to you instead of just trying to go out on the open market and it's like, look, if I go to the open market, I can't make this much more. Is there something you could do, some other type of incentive you can provide us to help, you know, reduce that gap?
Yeah.
And make us more likely to sell to Kamehameha Schools.
Yeah, I mean, so on the first part of your question, in terms of requests for information, yeah, we're happy to package up something and come to you folks or, you know, whatever group you guys want to convene and present on our journey. It's not going to be exactly the same as what you guys are doing, but I think, you know, hopefully we can give you some insight. And then I think there's a couple of different ways we've approached incentivizing, you know, maybe not so much on a price basis, but really kind of money now versus money later. And Leanne, you want to talk a little bit about forward contracting?
Sure. We did some experimentation and pilots in forward contracting for our POI4, the PEPE program. For example, we, you know, put in our standing order for the year and prepaid that contract, so that allowed the vendor to scale up their production, expand to another island. So we've also piloted that with banana on Oahu. And so that's been successful in that it allowed the farmer access to capital upfront that they could then invest in, for example, sustainable, reusable crates for their products, get more plants in the ground. But there's still some kinks to work out. So, you know, it's not as easy said, it's easier said than done. And I think there's some details that we can share learnings from there. But another incentive on the price side is just guaranteeing a sale. I think that's been big for the farmers. Even if they have to take a little bit of a price cut, they've been willing to understanding that they're going to be guaranteed this additional volume and they can count on those sales for the year. So that's the biggest, I think, incentives that we've worked with the farmers on.
Yeah.
Is that something that they know upfront when they get the lease? They know they're gonna buy X amount of?
It's not in our leasing strategy right now, but we had worked with them kind of on an individual basis from our procurement side. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. What's your payment terms with farmers? Because that's a big deal with the DOE, right? We've heard about.
I don't want to badmouth the state here. You know, we're probably a little faster. No, and, you know, we've had to be, we have a procurement system as well, right? So we've had to be creative in terms of, you know, sometimes for smaller contractors, paying with our P cards upfront, and then, you know, kind of running it through the chain on our back end in terms of, you know, getting it to the right spot, where accounting wants it. So not to say it's without challenges, but I think that's, back to kind of the other piece in terms of incentives is, really just creative financing. So, working with Feed the Hunger on, short-term facilities and lines of credit, those kinds of things that can kind of smooth it out, for the farmers, and they know that if they work with us, they can have access to these products that'll, you know, make it a little easier for them to.
That's something I'd actually like the DOE or the ADC to consider is legislation to make sure that farmers get paid, maybe a escrow account where money's put in upfront and then farmers can get paid. Something to consider for both the DOE and ADC.
So, and how do you choose or rank who gets help and assistance with their business plan? Everybody gets a chance? How do you choose who gets to go in first and what kind of resources do you put to that?
Yeah, for POI, I mean, I think you guys are gonna find this as well, especially on the institutional purchasing side. There is a little bit of self-selection because there's only a few of them that are really gonna be able to meet the requirements upfront. And so that's kind of how we started with that. And then on the back end, in terms of the modeling, you know, we really didn't go from farmer to farmer. We really went from crop to crop. So, you know, our focus, as it should be, I think, you know, has been native Hawaiian crops. And so doing some modeling around ulu, tea leaf, we did some kalo modeling. We're doing ava right now, you know, just to understand the economics of it. So farmers, you know what they're getting into, and having a product that maybe isn't, you know, generalizable to the square foot, but, you know, on a per acre basis, it'll be pretty close no matter where you are.
Okay, this isn't meant to be a hot potato second here, but you mentioned the food system and there's a lot of different components, a lot of different players. But if you were king for the day, and in soccer, we talk about scrumming a ball, if there was one area in the food system that you think if we all work together, we can have the greatest impact, what would that be?
Well, I think, you know, Denise brought up some of the low hanging fruit in terms of, you know, hospitality is not going anywhere as an economic driver. So, you know, using that money coming in to improve, I think part of it is destination tourism and having people understand what local food really is, rather than just like a localized version of whatever it is where they came from. I think there's a major opportunity there in terms of, you know, we think about import substitution, but we don't think as deeply about what do we grow here and how can we, you know, meet that palate where it's at. You know, I think a lot of people have a conception of what poi is, and, you know, maybe we should replace paste in school, you know, with it instead of feeding it to the tourists. But you know, there are a number of different ways we can engage, you know, that palate with locally grown food that nobody else is going to be able to compete with. Yeah.
Chair Brian, you want to say something?
If I may, Chair. And this is a response to Vice Chair Oklahoma and Member Cook, because the payment issue has come up, right? The length of time it takes to pay the farmers, right? They have cash flow concerns, and that has been a concern. So in response to you, Member Cook, Chair Hurd actually has been discussing that escrow possibility. As you guys were talking about this, I thought, well, maybe ADC, aren't you guys able to form LLCs? And maybe ADC is the escrow. You guys are the ones that, and we would probably have to get legislative funding, but you would have that money so that you could quickly pay the farmer and then get the payment from DOE. And that way the farmer wouldn't be negatively impacted. But that is one of the, I wouldn't say barriers, but one of the concerns that farmers say, well, and as Denise had said, also the procurement, there's a lot of issues that we are trying to work with different bodies, but I do need to acknowledge that Chair Hurd, that was one of her ideas, because this is a discussion, I think, every time we talk about farm to school. So anyway, Chair, thank you for that indulgence.
Thank you.
I would just add that as, you know, a farmer that sold to lots of food retailers here, you know, it's really hard to think about, why would I sell to somebody who's giving me 30, 45 to 60 days? Because a lot of the retailers are very aggressive and they give payment in 7 to 10 days and it's auto deposited into your account. I don't have to stand at the mailbox and wait for a check to come in. But I do think that's probably a role that ADC could play from a business development standpoint.
Yeah. For one, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. I heard your name all over.
I don't know what I did.
You know, only good stuff, but, pleasure to meet you. And most of my questions have been answered already, but one thing, I noticed on the import replacement, you have apples there.
Yeah.
So, where are
Where are you getting apples?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, that's, one of the things I think in terms of moving the, conversation away from import substitution on a one-to-one basis. We actually substituted the apples with other things.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, Leanne, you wanna jump in on?
Sure. I mean, one thing I will point out is most of the other items on that section were one-to-one replacement, for example, mai'a and watermelon. But for apples, we encouraged our campuses to transition to things like star fruit and dragon fruit, other fruits, tropical fruits that are available and in season, and help them reduce their apple imports.
The only thing is the cost is much higher on those things than apples. No?
It is, and that is true. One thing we found though is, you know, when you compare items one-to-one, the imports are higher costs generally, but when you're comparing across a spectrum of items, for example, carrots, we were able to source baby carrots much, much cheaper than mature carrots because the farmer is able to get another crop rotation in and was able to reduce that price. And so that price reduction then can offset to give us a little bit more wiggle room to spend more on the dragon fruit and some of the other more costly items.
Great.
And then, you know, when you standardize a menu with apple and you say, okay, I gotta have apple year round, again, you can play the commodity game, right? You know, whatever apple is what I'm gonna pay at that price, right? Versus when you're using you know, replace apple with seasonal fruit, you can get the cheapest in terms of whatever's in season as well, right?
My granddaughter, by the way, is like a big fan of dragon fruit because it was fed to her in school.
Oh,
You know?
now you gotta buy them now.
No, I
I'm wondering if I can ask a question, just a general question as a farmer.
Sure.
So I'm curious as to why the native crop trends on here, nothing is listed for macadamia nuts, which is a pretty heavy duty thing. One of our board members is, grows that as well. I'm just wondering if that's part of it or it's not a list or.
Yeah, it's just really not on our cafeteria menu. I mean, we still have a good footprint in macadamia coffee as well, but you know, I think our kids get enough energy where we shouldn't be giving them coffee.
Yeah, and on that, I think there's some restrictions for tree nuts.
Nuts in school.
Unfortunately, you know, most kids aren't allergic to macadamia nuts compared to maybe walnuts or almonds, but they just kind of lump us together. Also, macadamia nuts aren't a native crop, but they are good to grow here.
Local.
Yeah, and local, yeah.
Yeah, I think Dexter, I think DOE, right, that's a blanket restriction, right?
Is it really? Wow. Thank you.
And have you been tracking like participation with meals? I don't know, you know, in the DOE, kids are paying for meals. And so oftentimes kids, you know, the whole movement was about free lunches and who gets to eat that week. And has that had an impact on, you know, putting more local, has that driven up the number of meals consumed? And do you track waste at all as another method?
So we don't track exactly, like how, a DOE tracks, but, you know, the food is pretty good already. You know, we didn't have a lot of complaints, to start with, so, you know, there hasn't been as much, shift there, but I think maybe Leanne, you want to bring up one of the more interesting points about, fatigue?
Sure, well, and I can touch upon the first part too.
Yeah.
One thing that's unique is we don't have our students pay per meal. It's part of their tuition, so they don't have an option. I'm pretty sure I know for sure at least 2 of our campuses don't allow home lunch. So they eat what's there or they don't eat. So that's one difference. We've also noticed with our Maui campus that giving them the option, you know, for example, if we put poi and white rice, a lot of students will choose white rice. So we're opting when we do provide a native starch that we actually remove the rice from the menu. So, you know, they have to choose the ulu or the poi. So those are things that's been working. And then we do track waste. We partner, our food service is done by Flick Dining Services, and they really are good about tracking their waste, and they will adjust their menu based on what they see in the scrape line. They, one anecdote is the students are getting into it as well. So our intermediate students at Kapalama actually have a waste contest going on where they challenge each other to see who has the least amount of waste in the scrape line every day. So those are some of the things that we've been deploying.
Yeah, cool. And then the one thing I was gonna say about fatigue was just that, actually, when we started serving, some of the native crops more, and there was some feedback from the students that, you know, you guys giving us too much ulu and too much sweet potato. So that it can get to that problem. Maybe it's a good problem to have, right?
Thank you, and I just wanted to add, you know, last year I got to moderate a panel, eat and drink, and your provider who handles the kitchens was one of the panelists. Yeah, and then White Pacific Health was on the panel, and they all have this very robust pharma school, pharma institution programs, and after the panel, I told Denise I got really scared because, you know, the consumption rates that, you know, I was like, if these guys really figure it out, DOE's kind of gonna be screwed because there's not gonna be any farmers out there to buy from, local wise, right? You guys are aggressive, you know, HPH has been aggressive, and so, it's a good thing too, the farmer, but, thank you for what you guys do. So.
Well, thanks for having us.
Okay, item 10, just referring the board to report, from the last board meeting that, the presentation by Les Milnes, President of Kalepa Coalition, regarding the Apple's operations. If there's any board, any public discussion,
Nobody from the public, Chair.
thank you. Any board discussion? If not, we'll move on to the final matter, number 11, Executive Director's Report, including an update on the Hawaii Department of Education's centralized kitchen project, and an update on the current agency projects.
I'm actually gonna move to the other side of the table, how is that? That way I can see no, you can do this, I'm just gonna go from here. So you're gonna see some information that you haven't seen before, in a, I think, a positive way. And I think you're gonna see some positive trends that we've seen happening within ADC. So part of what you're seeing is information that was requested as a part of Senate visits across the state. And so collapsing that together, wait for my screen to come. Thanks. And it's certainly not meant to be comprehensive, but it's gonna be a lot more information that I think you've seen or been privy to in the past. So first slide, be my little thinker here. So I'm just gonna give an overview on the land, you know, water and the food system, and focusing more on some of the pending things that are happening. Ed? So if we think about what's in our strategic plan as it sits right now, it's threefold: the land acquisition and development, irrigation system development and maintenance, and improving the components of the food system. We are actively playing in all three of those circles. Can you go to the next one? So this gives you an overview and was probably one of the most exciting slides for the folks to see, which is we have an 80% occupancy across the entire state. In our entire portfolio of having over 16,000 acres that are farmable, we have 11,000 active licenses. We have over 2,000 acres that are pending licenses and ROEs. So you saw Allison here for a bit this morning, and she disappeared because people are ready to sign ROEs here on Oahu. And we are quickly running out of land. We currently have 1,550 acres targeted. That is CIP funding that came in fiscal year 26. One of the lessons I've learned in the last 2 years is just because it's in the budget doesn't always mean the money gets released. So I want the board to understand the impact of some of these acquisitions and why they are so essential. And we may need to have the board make some phone calls. So go to the next slide. On the island of Kauai, I think a lot of people have wondered, why do you guys need to have 1,000 acres? You already have, you know, like 12,000 acres on Kauai. Why do you need more? If you look at Kalepa, 97% is the occupancy. We only have 165 acres remaining. The reason people want to be over there is that's where the market is at. That's the airport, that's the port, that's the schools, that's the farmers market. It makes it very convenient. Why do we only have 59% occupancy in Keikaha? We need water. For the last 2 years, we've come to the ledge and asked for funding for water, which is specifically on these Mana plains, and we have not received that. That is why we have a lower occupancy. We currently have 1,115 acres that are pending acquisitions. The bulk of it is right here. And the day that the announcement came that we were going to acquire growth farmland, my first phone call of the morning was a female farmer, and she said, "I'll take all of it." The demand is so great, and because it's close to the market, everybody wants to be there. It makes it easy. Let's go to the next one. All right, good luck, you guys. There's no good place, but I have to stand up. So when you look at what the board has done over the last year, we have primarily been at about $150 per acre per year on Kauai. That is a very misleading number. And so we're gonna start reporting things a little differently in our annual report, because people immediately go, "Wow, you guys have like $900,000 in revenue from Kauai. What are you doing about that money?" Well, right off the top, 50% are ceded land fees. 50%. So when you look at $150, we're only taking in 75. 75 get paid out in ceded land fees. The new rate is $250 per acre. It made it defensible because we had done an appraisal. It wasn't like I said, "Hey, Dean, you call a few people, I'll call a few people, let's see what everybody's charging." There was actually a third party that called landowners, not tenants, and asked, "What was your rent structure?" And that's how we came up with our rent appraisals. If you run the numbers and say, if we could have our occupancy, and even our occupancy, some people are on licenses that are $30 per acre per year, and we're tied in for another 25 years. We can't do a lot to impact that. If we were just instantly could snap our fingers and go from the 150 to 250, our revenue would jump to $1 million. We can't do that because we have licenses that are 10, 20, 30 years with a 5-year bump, and it's only 2.5%. So we can't make it go that fast. In terms of if we could take the new rate and have 100% occupancy, we could be starting to take in like 1.45 million. It's very important to take a look at all of these numbers. Can you go to the next slide? This is a lot. We're at 96% occupancy. 96. That's pretty crazy. We have 434 acres in pending acquisitions. And we have folks that just went out to show land. I think it was interesting for her to show land on Kauai and then to show land on Oahu. So she goes out, you know, she's sharing things in Kauai and they're like, oh, I don't know. She comes out at Oahu, the grass is tall. The guy gets out of his truck and he's like, yeah, I like it. I really like it. And he got in, dug in the ground and he said, this is really great. And she goes, really? He's just like, yeah, I really would like to have that. It's because 80% of our market is here. It's where the regional kitchen is at. Go to the next slide. This is what you've done over the last year. You've taken the rent rates that are currently around $200 per acre per year. And the market rate is $1,800. And even at $1,800 per acre per year, people are telling us that's a bargain. That's an amazing bargain. And when you start to look at, you know, what does that do to our revenue stream? It really takes us from, you know, we're getting 100% of the 200. We will get 100% of the 1,800. Now we're talking about some money that starts to stabilize ADC and allows us to do some things we've never done before. So in Kauai, what's pending? We have the $39 million Grove farmland, $1.3 million in Gay and Robinson. And we're also looking at we are in the process of acquiring the East Kauai irrigation system. The Grove farmland is 1,000 acres, 1,040. And within that acquisition, our future partners will include the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, who will be having I know there's a difference between a prison and a jail. But they also want to actively farm and there will be a workforce right close to that. It's also a potential site for a partnership with the regional kitchen for the DOE. Gay and Robinson, the 1.3 million is really meant to protect our water system. It's Kuleana parcels that we've been basically crossing over for free for years. And I really want to do a shout out for the East Kauai irrigation system. Kira and Seaworm picked up the phone and called and said, what can we do to train the staff? You know, our staff loves the East Kauai irrigation system and we want the system to come back to life. You tell us when and we're going to show up to train your folks. We've hired a Kauai water systems manager. We've made 2 offers and we have 2 water workers that are starting on October 1st. On Oahu, some of the things that we're talking about is the Heritage Farms is where the slaughterhouse is slated. And I can't begin to tell you how excited the small animal livestock industry is because there's 2 major chokeholds on the industry. First of all, it's feed, because 80% of the cost of your production is feed. And ADC is doing a study through UHCDC on how we can impact feed production for small animals. The other big limiting factor is the small animal slaughterhouse. We can scale, but there's no place to slaughter. So this is how we're helping the industry. The Dole is purchasing land that we encompass. So from a farming family, you always want to buy the land next door because it makes it easy to expand. This is basically land that is pocketed on 3 sides by ADC. The 6.3 million we've referred to is basically a piece of land that will be used for egg cracking. And it's one of these things I call a quiet industry. Because while we've never thought about it, you know, every time you go to the hotel, you know, and have an omelet, you know, there's eggs involved. Well, the egg cracking facility that we went to see in California basically takes eggs from 200 family farms. And so in the cracking mechanism, they form them into half gallons, gallons, and 5-gallon buckets. Because if you think about it, nobody wants to drive 80 dozen eggs, you know, on each one over to the regional kitchen. It starts to kind of make a lot of sense in terms of opening some new markets that we haven't had before. And to be very blunt, several of the large producers of eggs in Hawaii were looking at taking their raw eggs and shipping them to the West Coast just to get into that egg cracking facility. So this is a way that we are impacting our food supply very positively. And then we're also looking at the property to build out on Oahu. This is basically another commercial property. You can ask me questions, you know, or say slow down because I wave my hands around a lot. So we talked about the East Hawaii irrigation system. We've got people, the equipment is starting to arrive. We shipped a truck over, another truck is coming, thanks in the next month and a half, and as well as some of our excavator and some of our smaller equipment. So that's pretty exciting, and our new water system manager has walked the entire system and has a plan on how he's going to work the system and resurrect the system. With the Keikaha irrigation system, we have pipe that's gonna be put in, and there's some other maintenance that's gonna happen, but probably the biggest ask is gonna be with this next fiscal year to really try and get the water to those 2,000 acres that sit at the top of the North Plains. We have an investment of 2.5 million that's going into the Waipole irrigation system, and at some point, someday, I would love to do a field trip because this is a very sacred system. And if you got to go to the innards, which was like a bucket list thing for me, like that is the mouth of the Waipole, which is pretty incredible. Another line item that we have is for $9.2 million for Central Oahu Water. It's hard, you know, it's easy to look at spreadsheets and you see a line item and it says $9.2 million. What that represents is providing both potable and non-potable water to 18 human traffic victims who the board has awarded rights of entry to. So you need to have the potable water in order to be VISMA and GAP certified. You also need to have that ditch water. It's a lot cheaper. But that is going to put 514 acres into production that has basically been a growing fuel load. Go ahead.
What's the timeline?
Well, as soon as we get the money, we're ready to go. We have a plan.
So it has to be used by.
It has to be released by the governor. So we might be talking, so you can make a couple. Next slide. In terms of improving the components of the food system, I'm really sad. Anela is very, very sick. So, you know, in the interest of everybody's safety, she's not here. She'll present on Hawaii, but we're doing quite a bit. We talked a little bit about the Food and Product Innovation Network. And one of the things that I learned in going to the HPP Summit, which was held in August, there were two entrepreneurs that had gone to the West Coast. They were young entrepreneurs. One has a baby food company. And he said, you know, I may have to relocate to the West Coast because I need that equipment in order to make my business go to the next level. So there really are people that are anxious for us to get the HPP going. And during the summit, there were probably 30 different farmers or businesses that brought product in to run through the HPP machine. So there really are people, just because we don't see them standing at the door, there really are people in the wings that need and want to use it. But a big part of, and I'm not gonna steal Anela's thunder, so we'll just go on to the next one. This is the Central Oahu Ag and Food Hub. You know, we talked a little bit, it is an ecosystem in and of itself. So this parcel is 4.8 acres. This is where the HPP machine is located, and we do have funding. This is the EPMF, stands for the Entrepreneur Product Manufacturing Facility. And one of our asks this year will be for about $40 million to build that facility and put the equipment in it. Denise talked about cold storage all day long. We have such a shortage of cold storage. And that's especially key because the DOE is starting with 18,000 square feet, and then it will add, you know, it'll grow to 30 and then it grows to 45. But that is not enough space to store all of the cold products that they're gonna need to have. Some of the other ideas that have come through past work through the UHCDC, the UH Community Development Corporation, really are the needs for the ag warehouse workforce housing. And we're working with North Shore EVP and Go Farm in generating a survey that will go to both ag workers as well as landowners to really kind of gauge what's going on and what is the need in the ag worker industry. There is not enough warehouse space, period. And one of the things that was interesting, talking about the high-tech greenhouse, in the last month in the trip to Maui, we got the opportunity to see Sensei Farms, which was another bucket list thing for me. And as we were standing there, they paused and said, does anybody have questions? And of course, my hand goes up. And I said, First of all, I would like to know, how do you find your workers? How do you train your workers? Are you guys furnishing PPE? Can you talk about the cost of seed? And the guy was like, oh, great, goody. And yes, you know, they do get local workers. Yes, they pay for their boots, and we pay for the boots of our workers. And one of the things that caught the entire entity by surprise, I said, could you please tell us how much is your seed? How much you paid for seed? And they said, we are paying $1.50 for each single tomato seed, and we put 7 in a hole. Everybody like couldn't believe it. But that's one of our big imports, is the seeds that go in, which is something that we need. They have scientists on staff that they are constantly working on varieties to figure out what makes sense. The thing that Dan Nellis touched on today, the Wahiawa irrigation system, I cannot emphasize enough. He touched on it, but 6 months out of the year, there are over 9,000 acres that are 100% dependent on that water system. 100%. There is not enough rainfall for them to plant. And so they're really on a precipice of, do I keep farming or not? Because if ADC doesn't take this, I don't have the security, the water's gonna flow. And I can't farm 6 months out of the year. I need 12 months out of the year. It's also critical because Homoho has no seed trials going on right now. That's a UH research station, and it's because the water system is wonky. And that's one of the greatest needs, is to have that consistent water. Okay. So in terms of the DOE, the superintendent is planning to provide a presentation at our October meeting, and so I don't want to steal his thunder. We talked a little bit about it, but everybody has gotten the message. September 2027 is the scheduled date of when it's scheduling to open. So we have a small animal livestock industry that's like, okay, we need to talk to UH. We've got to be changing our genetics. We have to be scaling up. You know, what is it that you guys are going to need at the kitchen? And the industry has started to mobilize, and that's across fruits, vegetables, as well as the meat industry. Denise talked about the menu development, and CTAR is working with DVED on the commodity mapping. But this is kind of key as we move into our new leases, that component of asking for an annual report, to ask the individual farmers, what is it that you're growing? You know, how many people are you employing? What kind of products are you growing? Just some things that we could put into our annual report. And the ADC commodity coordinator was approved. It's a big deal. This is the Kekaha Ag Processing Facility, which was built in 2012 by, at that point it was BASF. So it sits on a 10-acre parcel. It is a 15,000 square foot building. And one of the things that's very priceless is this right here. You tell everybody what that is.
Yes.
Can you see what it is? It's a dock bay. So you can back a truck into that dock bay. So that you can basically back a semi into here, and then you can load product. But this is one of the areas that are targeted for doing centralized processing in the future. Next slide. This is where the proposed slaughterhouse facility is. This is H1, this is Punia Road. The entrance would be off of a main lit intersection, so it's like 4 lanes up, and then you would come into the property like this. And one of the parcels will be more like the slaughterhouse, and it's more than a slaughterhouse. So there's slaughterhouse, you have to have like holding pens on the front, slaughterhouse facility, you need to have butchering, and you need to have cold storage. And so that's why we're looking at a bigger parcel. We're in the process right now of putting the RFPs together for the appraisals for all of the Kauai properties and all of the properties on Oahu, and we cannot pay more than the appraised value. Step by. Good. That's it. Questions, comments?
Did they figure out the wastewater for the?
No, not yet.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Any one from the public to give testimony?
There's none, Chair.
Any board members, questions? I just wanted to add, yeah, so, I know you had some budget stuff in there. When do you expect that the board can receive the agency corporation's budget?
In the next 2 weeks.
Okay. You know, we could refer that to the admin committee, and then, cause I think the leases, we kind of should see a breakdown for where we are in the terms and where we are, you know, with that increase in.
That whopping 2.5%
Yeah.
kicks
Yeah,
in.
yeah, and then for that planning, for planning purposes, but I think, you know, to the point of today's informational briefing, you know, I want to give credit where it's due to, because, you know, I think a lot of the projects we talked about in your presentation are legislative driven projects.
Yes.
They're not EDC driven projects.
Correct.
So, although the responsibility now relies on EDC to see those through, and so, you know, to Jesse's point, it's not all EDC's responsibility, but I think we want to look at though is that we have all these agencies doing all these different things, and we need to kind of meet people halfway on some of this. Long-term planning, in this ag ecosystem, so that's kind of why I wanted to make sure we all kind of knew. Kind of who was doing what and where we are, in that long-term, planning, but thank you. I think that's it, so unless Dexter has anything more.
Not for this one, we'll save it for next time.
That goes through the tail end.
Any other questions? If not, having no further business before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Well, thank you, Jesse Cook. Second by Vice Chair Fahama. Any objections? If not, we have decision. Hearing none, motion to be approved. Meeting is adjourned at 1:24 PM. Thank you, Nathan, and then Earl and Jennifer for being with us.
Goodbye.
Is